All right, we ready? All right. Hello, I'd like to welcome everybody to the June 9th, 2022 public hearing of the Jefferson County Planning and Zoning Commission. The Planning and Zoning Commission is charged with regulating the subdivision of property in the unincorporated areas of Jefferson County. You will be given the decision of the Commission today regarding subdivision request, and the plat representative will receive the decision in writing within 10 business days. Please note that any subdivision approved today is not complete. In order to complete the subdivision of your property, a final plat must be recorded in the Office of the Judge of Probate. County staff will be coordinating with the surveyors of today's approved preliminary plats to prepare the approved plats for recording. The Planning and Zoning Commission is also charged with evaluating requests for rezoning of property and advising the County Commission for their final determination. All decisions made by the Planning Commission regarding zoning cases are advisory only, and the final determination of the zoning will be made by the Jefferson County Commission in a subsequent public hearing for which all property owners within 500 feet will be notified. If everybody would please silence their phones to make sure they don't go off in the meeting, and then if I could, please have a roll call. Here.
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 Jay Miller.
Here.
Georgia McCoy O'Neill. Here. Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
All right, thank you. I'll now ask if we have a motion regarding the reading of the minutes from the last meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we suspend the rules and accept the minutes as presented.
Got a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. All right, the ayes have it. All right, we'll now move into our subdivision cases. The staff will present the subdivision case to the board, and then we will call for anyone here in opposition to please come forward. And after if there's opposition, then we'll allow the applicant to come forward and say anything they'd like in response. And hopefully many of these subdivision cases are uncontested, and we'll move through them pretty quickly. So we'll go ahead and begin. Andrew, if you would please, Mr. Martin, if you would please go ahead and present the first subdivision case, which is S22-29 Martin Management Consulting LLC's request for a 9-lot subdivision and 1 conservation lot on approximately 9 acres in the McCalla area.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is a proposed subdivision to split 1 acreage tract into 9 lots of record and 1 conservation lot, not for development. This is for a small residential development. It was rezoned by County Commission April of this year. It does comply with all the county zoning regulation. There was a note made by that traffic engineer that there are some widening improvements to be made on Eastern Valley Road, so there may be some additional right-of-way that has to be dedicated. The applicant is aware of this and is working with Resident Transportation to merge those seamlessly together. Other than this, the staff recommendation for this subdivision is approval.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Martin. We'll now open the public hearing and ask if there's anyone here in opposition to this case to please come forward. All right. Seeing none, is the applicant here? All right. Great. Thank you. All right. Are there any questions from the commission for the applicant? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve S22-0029 as presented.
Second.
All right. I've got a motion and a second. All in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. All right, the ayes have it. Thank you. Our next case is S22-31, Edward Hall and Ricky and Tammy Hall's request for a 2-lot subdivision of 14.8 acres in the Marsh Mountain area. Mr. Martin, if you would please present the case.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is a proposed subdivision to convey 3 acreage tracts into 2 lots of record. As you can see, the dotted line here was the 3rd acreage tract, and essentially it's 2 owners that are creating two lots of record out of those 3 acres tract. This complies with all our zoning regulations. There's no anticipated road access or traffic operation issues. There's no floodplain on this site as well. Right away will have to be dedicated 25 feet from the center line. We're adjacent to the property. Staff recommendation for this subdivision is approval.
All right, thank you. We'll now open the public hearing and ask for anyone here in opposition to please come forward. All right, seeing none, are there any questions from the commission or discussion? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve S22-0031 as presented.
All right, got a motion and a second. All in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Next case, S22-35, Rebecca and Ernest Moore, David Moore, and John Clay, Rebecca Moore Ernest, David Moore Ernest, John Clay Ernest, and Joel Sloan Ernest. I guess the whole Ernest family is requesting a 3-lot subdivision of 72 acres in the McCalla area. Mr. Martin, if you would please present the case.
Yes, this proposed subdivision is for 3 lots of record out of this 1 acreage tract. This rezoning was approved last year. A portion of this subdivision, Lot 3, is zoned R7 for a later development. Actually, our next subdivision case will address that development. But this is a parent tract split to create 3 lots out of it. So these upper tracts here on the north side, Lot 1 and 2, have remained the A1 agricultural zoning. This subdivision does comply with all the zoning requirements, and there will be some additional right-of-way that is required along Old Tuscaloosa Highway for road improvements that would be associated with that further development, which we will discuss in just a moment. Other than that, the staff recommendation for this subdivision is approval.
All right, thank you. We'll now open the public hearing. Is there anyone here in opposition to this case? All right, seeing none, is there any discussion or questions from the commission? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve S22-0035 as presented.
Second.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. All in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. The ayes have it. All right, the Ernest also are involved with the next subdivision case. It's S22-36. This is a request for a 106-lot subdivision of 61 acres in the McCalla area. Mr. Martin, if you would please present the case.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. As I mentioned, this is the second subdivision associated with the same piece of land we just looked at. This would be the larger portion of the lots would be split into 106 lots for residential development. This is the R7, also known as a PUD development. It does conform with the plan that was presented to the PUD committee on April 14th of this year. Staff has reviewed this. There is additional right-of-way which will be necessary, and that's actually being worked on now by the applicant with Roads and Transportation. And there is a floodplain on this property, so a floodplain development permit will be required. It must be approved for any site plans are approved. Environmental Services does have sewer available and therefore must approve the final plat. Other than that, the staff recommendation for this subdivision is approval.
All right, thank you. We'll now open the public hearing and call for anyone here in opposition to please come forward. All right, seeing none, are there any questions from the commission or any discussion? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve S22-0036 as presented.
Second.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. All in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. All right, next case is S22-37, Cordarius Bland's request for a 1-lot subdivision of 0.37 acres in the McDonald Chapel area. Mr. Martin, go ahead when you're ready.
Yeah, the purpose of this resurvey is to combine 2 lots of record. This is one of those old subdivisions, Palermo subdivision. It's recorded about 1900. So we have 2 very small lots of record that are being combined for residential use. This complies with all our county requirements. There's no sewer available here, so Health Department will have to sign off on this final plat. Staff recommends approval for this resurvey.
Thank you. We'll now open the public hearing and ask for anyone in opposition to this case to please come forward. All right, seeing none, are there any questions from the commission or is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve S22-0037 as presented.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Next case, S22-38, Terry and Deborah Smith and Nicholas and Lindsay Smith's request for a 2-lot subdivision of 15.27 acres in the corner area. Go ahead, Mr. Martin.
Yes, the purpose of this resurvey is to move a lot line between 2 recorded lots of record. As you see, this dotted line was the original lot line. This was recorded last year. It was approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission. The Chapel Smith Farm is a family subdivision. So they're, again, coming forward just to move this lot line slightly. Staff has reviewed this, and it conforms to all our requirements. Exception will have to be granted because 3A does not have road frontage. But other than that, staff does recommend approval.
Thank you. We'll now open the public hearing and ask for anyone here in opposition to please come forward. Seeing none, are there any questions from the commission, or is there any discussion? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve S22-0038 as presented.
Second.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. All in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. All right, the ayes have it. All right. Next case is S22-40, Randall White's request for a 3-lot subdivision of 7.91 acres in the Sylvan Springs area. Mr. Martin, go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is a proposed subdivision to split 1 acreage tract into 3 lots of record for residential use. Staff has completed a review. It conforms with all the requirements for A1 zoning. Right-of-way will have to be dedicated 25 feet from the center line there on William Housen Road. And the note was also made that there may be some roadside vegetation that needs to be cleared for any driveway permits. Other than that, staff recommendation for this subdivision is approval.
Thank you. Is there anyone here in opposition to this case? All right, seeing none, is there any questions from the commission, or is there any discussion? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve S22-0040 as presented.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. The ayes have it. All right. Yes.
For an interruption on S22-0038, I'd like to make an amendment to my motion, please. In case we heard prior to 4-0.
Okay.
I make a motion with approval with exception to the subdivision regulation to allow 3A to be recorded with no road frontage.
Okay.
That's case S22-0038.
All right. Do we have a second to the amendment? All right. We've got a motion and a second. All in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. All right. Then the case is approved as amended. All right. So I think we've completed S22-40. That was approved. And so we'll move on to S22-41. Joseph and Norman Alessi's request for a 2-lot subdivision of 18 acres in the Vestavia area. Mr. Martin, go ahead when you're ready.
Yes, the purpose of this subdivision is to split 1 acreage tract into 2 lots of record for residential use. This is E2 zoning in the Vestavia area. It does comply with all our zoning regulation. An exception to the subdivision regulations will have to be allowed to allow Lot 2 to be recorded with no road frontage. Right-of-way dedication is required for Squire Lane. And then the note was also made by a traffic engineer that any proposed development of Lot 1 in the future may require some road improvements there on Squire Lane to the south. Other than this, the staff recommendation is approval with an exception to the subdivision regulations to allow Lot 1 to be recorded with no road frontage.
All right. Thank you. Is there anyone here in opposition to this case? All right. Is there any discussion from the commission or any questions? All right. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion to approve S22-0041 with the exception to the subdivision regulation to allow Lot 2 to be recorded with no road frontage.
Second.
All right. I've got a motion and a second. All in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. All right. The ayes have it. Our next case is S22-42, Edna Burgett and Margaret Robert Burgett's request for a 2-lot subdivision of 37.29 acres in the Marsh Mountain area. Mr. Martin, go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is a proposed subdivision to move a boundary line between 2 acreage tract. As you can see, here's a large tract here and a smaller one. The original boundary line was more like slightly to the south here. So they are just moving a boundary line, and as such will convey these acreage tracts to lots of record. Staff has completely reviewed The subdivision does comply with all our zoning regulations. There's no anticipated road access or traffic operation issues. Right-of-way dedication will be required for Self Creek Road, 25 foot from center line where adjacent to the property. Staff recommends approval for this subdivision.
Thank you. We'll now open the public hearing and call for anyone here in opposition to please come forward. All right, seeing none, is there any discussion or are there any questions? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve S-22-0042 as presented.
Second.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. All in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Next case, S-22-43, Reginald and Beverly Kennedy and Bill and Martha Jackson's request for a 3-lot subdivision in the Dora area, corner area, same thing. All right, Mr. Martin, if you would, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. This is a resurvey, a proposed resurvey to move a boundary line between 3 lots of record. So all the 3 of these lots already exist. Simply moving lot lines to create a little more space for a auto canopy. It's in this area right here. So again, they're moving lot lines between the 3 lots. It complies with all the zoning requirements of A1 zoning. There's no additional right-of-way required and no anticipated access or traffic operation issues. Staff does recommend approval for this resurvey.
All right, great, thank you. We'll now open the public hearing and call for anyone here in opposition to please come forward. All right, seeing none, are there any questions from the commission or any discussion? All right, seeing none, I'll call for a motion. After we close the public hearing, call for a motion. Sorry, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve S-22-0043 as presented.
Second.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. All in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Our next case is S-22-44, Karen Boozer and Kimberly McElroy and Justin McElroy's request for a 1-lot subdivision of 3 acres in the Trussville area. Mr. Martin, go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The purpose of this resurvey is to combine portions of 14 lots of record into one for residential use. This is kind of an odd situation. Richard Beard subdivision that was recorded in 1953. The lots are oriented, as you can see, east and west here, and there's a little small portion of each of these that's between railroad tracks and the highway here. And so this is a resurvey to combine all of those into one narrow lot. The staff has completed the review. It does comply with the zoning regulation. A variance was granted recently, last month, to allow an existing building to be closer to the front and rear property lines than the minimum required, 35 feet. Other than that, the staff recommendation for this subdivision is approval, or resurvey is approval.
Okay. We'll now open the public hearing and call for anyone here in opposition to please come forward. Seeing none, are there any questions or any discussion from the commission? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Chairman, I make a motion to approve S-22-0044 as presented.
Second.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. All in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. All right, the ayes have it. Our next case is S-22-45, Vicki Allen's request for a 1-lot subdivision of 3.97 acres in the Brookside area. Mr. Martin, go ahead.
Yes, the purpose of this resurvey is to combine 6 lots of record into one record for the creation of a gas station and convenience store. This property was recently the subject of a rezoning case in May, in which the county commission did rezone this property from R1 single family to C1 commercial for the purpose of a gas station. So this is the following subdivision case to combine the lots in order for the applicant to do so. The proposed subdivision does comply with the zoning regulations. Note was made that the owner should obtain approval, from Alabama Power to traverse the right-of-way. Traffic has also noted that it will be necessary for the driveway access of the lot to align with the Roberta Road to accommodate Cherry Avenue access. There's no additional right-of-way required, no floodplain, and there is no sewer service available here, so the health department will have to give approval on the final plat. The staff recommendation is approval for this resurvey.
All right, great, thank you. We'll now open the public hearing and call for anyone here in opposition to please come forward. All right, seeing none, are there any questions from the commission or comments? Discussion? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve S-22-0045 as presented.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Y'all bear with us. We're almost done with our subdivision cases, so I know this is boring, but we're getting through it. All right, next case is S-22-46, Shades Parkway LLC's request for a one-lot subdivision of 3.69 acres in the Mountain Brook area.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is a resurvey to join 3 lots of record and as well as some additional acreage here into 1 lot of record. This parcel is currently already developed. This is just a resurvey to put it all into 1 lot to have a continuous setback for the entire parcel. It does comply with CP, preferred commercial zoning standards. No anticipated road access or traffic operation issues. No additional right-of-way is required. There is a floodplain Zone AE present on this property, so a floodplain development permit will be required before any additional work can be permitted on this lot. Staff does recommend approval for this resurvey.
All right, thank you. We'll now open the public hearing and call for anyone here in opposition to please come forward. All right, seeing none, are there any questions from the commission or any discussion? All right, we'll close the public hearing then and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve S-22-0046 as presented.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. All in favor, signal by saying aye. Any opposed, say nay. All right, the ayes have it. All right, our last standalone subdivision case is S-22-47, Justin and Sarah Arrington's request for a 2-lot subdivision of approximately 15.4 acres in the Mount Olive area. Mr. Martin, go ahead when you're ready.
Yes, the purpose of this resurvey is to split a single lot of record into 2 lots of record for residential use. This is a part of the Creekwood Mini Farms Phase 1. It's a private gated subdivision that was approved administratively in 2014 by the county. So this is the proposed subdivision to split it into 2 additional lots. There was a note from the traffic engineer that the current private road here serves 12 lots and is approximately 13 feet wide. In order to accommodate 2-way traffic and emergency vehicles, the requirement has been made that the road will have to be widened to 16 feet and have 2-foot wide shoulders. And this work must be completed prior to the final plat being signed and approved by Roads and Transportation. Other than that, there's no additional right-of-way that's required. There is floodplain on this property, so a floodplain development permit is required before any development occurs on Lot 2A. Staff recommends approval for this resurvey.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. We'll now open the public hearing and call for anyone here in opposition to please come forward. All right, seeing none, is there any discussion from the commission or are there any questions? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve S-22-0047 as presented.
Second.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. All in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. All right, the ayes have it. All right, what I'd like to do now, I think, let's move the Fletcher Road rezoning case to the end of the agenda, and we'll hear all the other zoning cases. We'll go ahead with all the rest of the zoning cases. So if you could bring everybody in associated with any other case except for the Fletcher Road zoning case, please. Yeah. Z-2205 is the Fletcher Road case.
22.
I hope you may have to tap me on the shoulder. I don't. Okay. Okay. what I thought. Connie said something different. Yes, sir. Oh, I didn't think so. What's the other one?
We'll start with Z2222. We'll start with our new cases. All right.
Okay.
Is that everybody, Michael? Okay, great. All right, folks, if you are here for the Fletcher Road case, that's Z22-005, it's a request by the Old Group LLC for 108 lots subdivision in the McCullough area. We're going to hear that case last, and so if you could wait outside. So everybody that's in here should be here for a case other than that. And I'm sure y'all probably weren't able to hear me out in the hall, so I'll go over the some of the preliminary instructions. If everybody could please first just silence their phones to make sure they don't go off in the meeting. And then we've gone through our standalone subdivision cases, so now we're moving into our zoning cases, some of which have a subdivision case with them. Bear in mind that on the rezoning cases, we only make a recommendation on those cases. The final decision is made by the county commission at a subsequent hearing, which you'll receive notice of if you're within 500 feet. On the subdivision cases, though, we do make the final decision on those cases. And so on the subdivision cases, we ask for the opposition to come up first, but on the zoning cases, we ask for the applicant to come up first if they like. And I'll help everybody through that if there's some confusion. But one of the things to bear in mind, if you come up and speak today, please state your name and address for the record right when you get up. And other than that, I think we should be in pretty good shape. All right, we'll move forward now with our first zoning case. This is Z22-23, Patrick Porter and Ebony Latrice Porter's request. No, excuse me. I'm sorry. 22. I jumped ahead on the agenda. First case is Z22-22, Tyree Wilder's request for a change of zoning to C1 of 4.5 acres in the McCullough area. Mr. Brown, if you would please present the case for us.
Yes, sir. So this is a rezoning request, as you mentioned, from A1 to C1 for the purpose of developing the site with a 15,650 square foot daycare center, along with 110 parking spaces at 5555 Eastern Valley Road in the McCullough area. The proposal complies with the future land use map, which identifies the property for Rural Village Center and G4 infill growth. It's also consistent with the zoning criteria of the C1 zoning district. Staff is recommending approval with two conditions, and those conditions being, one, the development shall be limited to substantial compliance with the site plan and architectural rendering submitted before the P&Z on June 9th, and number two, parking lot lighting shall also be directed downward and away from adjacent businesses.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Brown. We'll now open the public hearing of this matter, and we'll ask for the applicant to come forward if they wish to add to the presentation. Each side will have 15 minutes to present their case or to oppose the case, and so the 15 minutes isn't per person, it's for each side. It would be for the proponents and the opposition. So be mindful of that. And if you hear someone come up and they have a concern about traffic or anything like that, don't feel like you need to come back up and repeat the same thing. I'm going to be taking notes here about the concerns that people have, and I'll ask the applicant to address those. So just for the sake of time, we've got a long agenda today. If you hear somebody express a concern, when you come back up, please don't repeat the same concern because, like I said, we'll have it noted here. And then also, after the cases are heard, please feel free to go ahead and leave. You're not going to be rude if you leave during the meeting. In fact, I'd encourage you to leave because we still are on the tail end of this pandemic. So, all right. Well, let's go ahead. If you're all the applicants, if you
Yes.
you want to add to the presentation, then please go ahead and state your name and address and tell us what you're doing.
Jennifer Wilder.
Tyree Wilder.
Address is 4505 Wishart Circle,
McCullough, Alabama, 35111. This is the facility that is proposed. We are aware of the traffic issues. However, our civil engineer will be making those adjustments. And it's a community need. It's a necessity in that community. It would be a great facility for the production workers there. And we have positioned inside of it a nurse facility to be able to take care of some of the things that might come up so the workers could still remain at work. It can help with retention. It can definitely help with, by having an on-site training center inside, it can definitely help with retention in the child care community as well.
All right, great. Is there anything else you wish to add at this time? Okay,
No.
Great, thank you. We'll call for anyone here in opposition, and we may have you come back up if there's any opposition. But is there anyone here in opposition to this case? All right. Seeing none, are there any questions from the commission for the applicant, or is there any discussion? Yes.
Mr. Tyler, are y'all planning on putting a privacy fence up around the property? Because in 2013, that was what we proposed.
It's required by the Alabama Department of Human Resources, so a fence will be in place.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'm making a motion to approve Z22-0022 with the condition that development shall be limited to substantial compliance with the site plan and architectural rendering submitted for the P&Z approval on June 9, 2022. Also, the parking lot lighting shall be directed downward away from any adjacent businesses.
Second.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. All in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. All right, the ayes have it. Thank you. All right, our next zoning case is Z22-23, Patrick Porter and Ebony Latrice Porter's request for a change of zoning to A1 for residential use to include a mobile home. This is on 10 acres in the Sayre area. Mr. Brown, go ahead and present the case, please, sir.
Yes, sir. This is actually a rezoning request to the A1 zoning district to develop the site or allow a modular manufactured home at 4425 Levi Avenue in the Graceville area. Here's the applicant's plot plan, which shows the location of the proposed modular home or manufactured home, whichever it may be. And this shows you the property is located in a floodplain, by the way, which is why I'm showing you the aerial map here. That is actually the Locust Fork tributary of the Black Warrior River. So the site is impacted by the floodplain. The applicant has two options. One, apply for a flood development permit, or re-subdivide the lot and create a conservation lot so that portion that's adjacent or impacted by the floodplain would remain natural and undisturbed. The applicant's chosen to not create a subdivision lot on this property. Otherwise, the property meets all of the zoning criteria, is consistent with the future land use map. There are no transportation issues associated with this proposed development, and staff is recommending approval.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Brown. We'll now open the public hearing and call for the applicant to come forward if they wish and to add anything, and don't feel like you have to, but if you'd like to, if you'd like to add anything, you can, but don't feel like you've got to. You're more than welcome to wait and see if there's anybody here in opposition. But yeah, all right. Is there anyone here in opposition to this case? All right. Seeing none, is there any discussion amongst the planning commission or questions for staff or otherwise? All right. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve Z22-0023 as presented.
Second.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. All in favor, signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. All right, the ayes have it. Thank you. All right, our next case is Z22-25, Peggy Posey's request for a change of zoning to C1 for a C-store with 4 gas dispensers under a canopy of 9.34 acres in the Partridge area. Mr. Brown, if you would present the case when you're ready, please.
Okay, yes, sir. As you mentioned, this property is located at 3487 Warrior Jasper Road in the Warrior Jasper Road, the Warrior area. Consists of 9.34 acres, and they're proposing a gas station, a C-store with gas pumps, I believe, and a canopy. The site is consistent with the county's future land use map. It's consistent with the C1 zoning district criteria. To my knowledge, there were no traffic operation issues. There is one condition of approval that staff is proposing, and that condition is that the site plan be subject to an architectural design approval by the Planning and Zoning Committee. And that's all I have.
All right. All right, thank you. We'll now open the public hearing and ask if the applicant would like to come forward and add anything to the presentation. Please do so now. All right, seeing none, is there anyone here in opposition to this case? All right, seeing none, are there any questions from the commission or any discussion?
Is Ms. Posey or Mr. Purcell here? Applicants here?
Doesn't look like it.
I have one correction. I think I misspoke. The traffic engineering department is recommending a traffic impact study, but that would not hold up the approval of the rezoning request with the one stipulated condition. And that's just to determine if road improvements are warranted, justified for traffic operations associated with the proposed and future development of the site.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Currently, there's a gas station on that corner. That's what I was going to ask him if they're planning on demolishing it. It's going to be two of them back side by side, two convenience stores.
Mr. Brown, do you know what the current land use is for the property on the corner that this surrounds?
So the land use on the corner is actually a grocery store,
Okay.
but it does have gas pumps. What's being proposed on the adjacent lot is a convenience store with gas pumps. Both will obviously have gas pumps.
Okay, thank you. All right. Is there any further discussion?
Chair,
Yes, Dr. Dickerson.
so once the site plan is provided and the architectural design approved, does it come back to this committee?
I think it'll come back to us to approve both of those items.
Okay.
And that's what it appears that staff's suggesting that if we were inclined to make a motion to approve, that we condition it on site plan and architectural review approval, and as well as a traffic impact study. So, all right. Any further discussion? All right. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like a motion to approve Z22-0025 with conditions that we approve the site plan, subject to approval of the site plan and the architectural design by the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. All in favor, or signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. All right, the ayes have it. Thank you all. Next case is, well, I guess they weren't here, so. All right. Our next case is Z22-26. This is the Linton Coal Company's request for a change of zoning to A1 for 3 lots for residential subdivision of 167 acres in the Trafford area. Mr. Brown, if you would please present the case when you're ready.
Yes, sir. So this is a rezoning request, as mentioned, from I-3 Industrial to A1 at 2542 Bone Drive Road in the Trafford area. There are 3 other associated addresses with this property along Sunview Road in the Warrior area. 6 lots are being proposed. 3 lots are being proposed for residential dwellings, and the other 3 are being proposed as conservation lots. The development is consistent with the county's future land use map. It's also consistent with the zoning criteria for the A1 zoning district. There's a companion subdivision case, which is case S22-18. You'll want to vote on these separately. And the only thing the subdivision case does is create those 3 conservation lots previously mentioned.
Great, thank you. We'll now open the public hearing and ask if the applicant wishes to come forward to please do so now. All right, seeing none. Is there anyone here in opposition to this case? All right, seeing none, we'll Is there any discussion or any questions from the commission? All right, then we'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve Z 22-0026 as presented.
Second.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. All in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. All right, the ayes have it. All right, we've got the companion subdivision case. Mr. Martin, we've got a companion subdivision case. It's S22-18. And this is a 3-lot subdivision, as previously mentioned, for the 172 acres in the Trafford area. We'll open the public hearing on this matter and call for anyone here in opposition to please come forward. All right, seeing none, we will close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve S 22-0018 as presented.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. All in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. All right, the ayes have it. Okay, our next case is zoning case 22-27, Eric Taylor and Caitlin Bond's request for a change of zoning to A1 to A1 to remove a split zoning from A1 to and C1. This is a rezoning request for 3.5 acres in the Pawnee area. Mr. Brown, go ahead when you're ready.
Yes, sir. Simply put, there are currently 2 structures on the lot. One structure is proposed to be demolished. The other structure will serve as the applicant's primary residence. The split zoning, the purpose to remove the split zoning is, of course, to clean up the county's zoning map. This proposal is consistent with the zoning criteria of the A1 zoning district, and it's also consistent with the county's future land use map of single-family residential. Staff is recommending approval.
Thank you. We'll now open the public hearing and ask if the applicant wishes to come forward. Please do so now. That's fine. Thank you. All right. Is there anyone here in opposition to this case? All right. Seeing none, are there any questions from the commission for the applicant? All right. Then we'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve Z 22-0027 as presented.
Second.
All right. I've got a motion and a second. All in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. All right. The ayes have it. All right. Our next case is Z22-28, Joy Wood, personal representative for the estate of Eugene Hassel's request for a change of zoning to RG for a garden home subdivision, 77 lots, located on 12.67 acres in the McCalla area. Mr. Brown, go ahead when you're ready.
Okay, I'm sorry. It moves very slowly. Okay, so the property is located at 8140 Kimball Cutoff Road in the Birmingham area. The rezoning request is from A1 to RG, single family. The applicant is proposing a 77-lot garden home subdivision. The proposal is consistent with the county's future land use map of our P3 general urban zone and G3 intended growth. The density requirement of the RG zoning district requires a maximum of 8.6 dwelling units per acre, and this proposed development is only 6.1 dwelling units per acre, so it complies. The property is not in a designated floodplain, and a traffic impact study is required by traffic engineering. Otherwise, staff is recommending approval of this rezoning request.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Brown. All right. We'll now open the public hearing and ask if the applicant wishes to come forward to add to the staff's presentation. Please do so now.
Yes, sir. I'm Joey Miller, MTTR Engineers, 2500 South Lake Park, Suite 100, Hoover 35242. I'm representing the owner, Zach Parrish, and Joy Young. Zach has got a contract on the property to build these lots. We do have sewer availability letter from Tannehill Sewer. It'll be on private sewer, low pressure. They do have the capacity for it. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to develop the subdivision. We'd be glad to provide a traffic study. The houses will be between 1,700 and 2,800 square feet, and starting low 300,000. So that's what we're proposing, and be glad to answer any questions y'all might have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Miller. Is there anyone else with the applicant that wishes to speak at this time? All right, seeing none. Is there anyone here in opposition to this case? All right, are there any questions from the commission or any discussion? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve Z22-0028 with the condition that they have a traffic impact study as required by Roads and Transportation.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. Can we do a roll call vote, please?
Aye.
Yes.
Abstain.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, great. The ayes have it. All right, our next case is Z22-29. This is Douglas Farms LLC's request for a change of zoning to R4 for a 30-unit condominium complex on Lot C3 of the resurvey of Lot 1 Douglas Commons. This is on a 4-acre tract in the Hoover area. Mr. Brown, if you would please present the case.
Yes, sir. So the applicant is proposing to develop the site specifically with a 2.5-story, 30-unit condominium building with 63 parking spaces. The proposal is consistent with the county's future land use map of P3 suburban zone and G3 intended growth. The RG, the R4 multifamily zone district requires a maximum density of 21 dwelling units per acre, and this proposal is 7.4 dwelling units per acre. It does comply also with the R4 zoning district criteria in terms of lot width and minimum lot size. There is a traffic engineering requirement for the submission of a traffic impact study. Staff is recommending approval of this rezoning for the 30-unit condominium complex.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Good job. We'll now open the public hearing and ask the applicant to come forward if they wish to do so.
Yes, sir. Joey Miller, MTTR Engineers, 2500 South Lake Park, Hoover 35242, actually 244, sorry. This property was originally zoned RG when we developed Douglas Commons, and it was going to be part of the Garden Home District, or the Garden Home subdivision is under development right now to our west. And Price Hightower, who's developing the subdivision to our west, decided he didn't want to buy this particular property because of some soil conditions. And so we just made it an independent lot. We weren't sure what we're going to do with it, and so we looked at the marketing and decided that condominiums would be an appropriate use, so that's why we're here. They'd be roughly 1,000 square feet, maybe a little bit bigger, starting at 300,000, and we'd be glad to provide a traffic study if that's what Roads and Transportation needs to develop the property. So be glad to answer any questions y'all might have.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Is there anybody else with the applicant that wishes to speak at this time? All right, seeing none. Is there anyone here in opposition to this case? All right, seeing none. Any questions from the commission?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Dr. Dickerson.
I just have one question regarding stormwater.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
Are there any problems with the stormwater drainage?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. There's an existing pond, lake, I'm not sure what you want to call it, that's due north of here, and everything naturally drains there. And so both these properties and the two properties that front up on Old Columbiana Road would all share that stormwater detention area. And they would have to have their own, I mean, there'd be I guess a property owners association to maintain it. They'd be required to maintain it themselves.
Okay.
and provide, yearly inspections and that everything's being done correctly.
Okay.
All right, certainly. Is there any further discussion or any questions for the applicant? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and ask for a roll call vote. Well, excuse me, let's see if there's a motion first, I guess.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve Z22-0029 with the condition that require a traffic impact study as required by the Roads and Transportation.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. If we could have a roll call vote, please.
Abstain.
Yes.
Abstain.
Aye.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, great. The ayes have it. All right. Our next case is Z22-30. This is Walker Family Holdings' request for a change of zoning to A1 for residential use. This is on a 3.25 acre parcel in the Trustful area. Mr. Brown, go ahead when you're ready.
Yes, sir. So this is property located at 4370 and 4380 Valley Road, near the Trustful area. The rezoning request is from C1 to A1. They're proposing to develop the site with a residential dwelling. I believe initially the applicant, who's a gunsmith and gun shop owner, had planned to develop this site with a gun shop, but he's gotten older now, and that's no longer foreseeable in the near future. And so he's proposing to develop the site instead with a residential dwelling in the A1 zone district, and staff is recommending approval.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Brown. We'll now open the public hearing and ask the applicant to come forward if they would like to do so. All right. Seeing none, is there anyone here in opposition to this case? All right. Are there any questions from the commission, or is there any discussion? All right, then we'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve Z22-0030 as presented.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. The ayes have it. All right, our next case is Richard and Karen White's request for a change of zoning to R1 to remove a split zoning of 0.28 acres in the Mount Olive area. Mr. Brown, go ahead when you're ready.
Okay, so this is somewhat of an odd request. So what you have here on the screen, it's also in your packet, is a copy of the resurvey. You have lots 1 here and lot 2 here. There's a companion subdivision case with this proposal as well. Lot 1 contains approximately 21 acres, and lot 2 contains less than an acre. And so what the applicant's proposing here is to take square footage, not acres, but square footage from this larger lot and give it, if you will, to the smaller lot. And so lot 2 would become 1.07 acres in acreage. And simply put, that is the re-subdivision request. And so this triangular piece right here is the piece that he's taking from the larger lot. The larger lot is zoned A1, I believe. And so it's only this small triangular piece that would be rezoned from A1 to R1. That's the rezoning request as well as the companion subdivision. And so I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
And the triangular piece will be re-subdivided and brought into the existing lot 2.
That's correct. Yes.
So where we've got a conforming lot.
Yes, sir, you got it.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. All right, great. We'll now open the public hearing and ask for anyone, or ask if the applicant wishes to come forward. Please do so now. All right, is there anyone here in opposition to this case? All right. Seeing none, is there any discussion amongst the commission or any questions for staff? All right, then we'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve Z22-0032 as presented.
Second.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. All in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. All right, the ayes have it. All right, we've got a companion subdivision case that Mr. Brown just went over with us also, which is S22-39. Again, just for formality's sake, this is Karen and Richard White's request for a two-lot subdivision of 22.4 acres in the Mount Olive area. We'll go ahead and open the public hearing on this matter and ask for anyone here in opposition to please come forward. All right, seeing none, and we'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve S22-0039 as presented.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. All right, the ayes have it. All right, our next rezoning case is number Z22-33, Infinity Investment LLC's request. Jabari Mosley is the applicant. The owner is Infinity Investments. Request for a change of zoning to R1 for a residential subdivision of 17 lots and a retention pond on 8.94 acres in the Forestdale area. Mr. Brown, if you would please present the case.
Yes, sir. So this proposed subdivision of 17 single-family dwellings on 8.94 acres is consistent with the R1 single-family district zoning criteria. It also complies with the county's future land use map, which is residential transition or mixed use for this area. Everything surrounding the property, I believe, is single-family. There are no anticipated traffic operation issues, and staff is recommending approval of this rezoning with no conditions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Brown. We'll now open the public hearing and ask the applicant to come forward if they'd like to do so and add anything to the presentation. Okay.
Good afternoon. I'm Jabari Mosley with Infinity Investments, and I'm 4011 First Avenue North, Birmingham 35222.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. And what I wanted to speak on, we're requesting to rezone from the existing zoning of A1 to R1 in order to build single-family homes. These homes will be consistent with the properties that are already in that subdivision or in that area. We're planning to increase value, or at least maintain and increase value of that area. We're currently doing a subdivision in that area, and those properties are selling above what the current properties are now. They will be from 1,700 to 2,000 square foot homes. We do have some renderings, but I don't think we were able to put them up with time constraints.
Okay.
And we've addressed drainage with the retention pond that's the engineers are currently working on. And if a traffic study was required, we would be willing to do that.
Okay, great.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes,
Well, hang on to your renderings. If there's anyone here in opposition, we may get you to pass those out, but let's wait and see if there's anyone here in opposition. Okay?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mosley. All right. Is there anyone here in opposition to this case? All right. Okay. Good deal. If y'all would please, if you could come forward and state your name and address for the record, and again, please be sure to try to not repeat the same concerns that have been previously expressed by other opponents. So y'all feel free to come in any order you like. Just it's up to y'all. Yes, sir. Sure.
I'm the closest. Thank you. First time ever speaking before, I don't know what this zoning commission. My name is Gregory Crawford. I live at 2047 Trail Ridge Square. My property abuts this proposed subdivision. My complaint or my opposition, not only am I opposed to this, Your Honors, I'm vehemently opposed to this. This is a map of what is proposed for this area right here. I just sat here and counted all of these lots. This lot encompasses an area of about 3 blocks by maybe 3 blocks. 60 homes in this area. 60. There is nowhere for these children to play. They're walking the street right now. There's no park, no sidewalks, or anything. The rendering, somebody had a rendering.
Here, sir, yeah.
This rendering says that the gentleman want to build these style homes on this area.
Sir, if you could address the commission, please.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just want to, people in here.
Sure.
Well, the problem is that these homes in this area are a lot larger than 1,700 square feet. The children have nowhere to play, and I want to keep repeating myself, nowhere to play, no parks, nothing. We're going to be adding traffic. We're going to be adding people to an already congested area. And I am vehemently opposed to that. And that's all I'm going to say.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Crawford.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner, how y'all doing?
Hey there.
I'm opposed to it. I live at,
Yeah,
my name is Victor Thompson. I live at 2057 Trail Ridge Square. I'm seriously opposed to this because you said don't mention again about the traffic, but it needs to be mentioned. We don't have sidewalks in that area, and I've been there 21 years, and my property is 2,100 square feet. And my thing is, what is the minimum square lot that's going to be built there? What is the cost? And it's really not conducive for our neighborhood. And my thing is, back in 1998, I think, someone else tried to build on those with that particular property over there, and it was rejected. And we're going to reject it again and again and again because that's a quiet neighborhood. And to generate 17 lots, that's not going to happen over there. We're not in agreement with it. There's no sidewalks. We don't know what the cost of the lots are. He said 17 to 2,000 square feet. It won't be conducive for our neighborhood. And we don't need that traffic, and we don't need those houses. And also, back in 1998, I think when they tried to use those lots for development, it was shut down. And then we created a neighborhood association for whoever would try to come back to address the neighborhood association. None of that has happened.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Dr. Dickerson, do you have a question for Mr. Thompson?
Can you explain more completely what you mean by this not being conducive with your neighborhood? I understand about the sidewalks. Is there anything else?
Yes, it's a lot of things. We leave our doors open in our neighborhood, and I've been there 21 years, and I have children that was reared up in that neighborhood, and they were running up and down the neighborhood on their bicycles, and now we have grandchildren, and other people have moved in our neighborhood but in our area. There's a lot of children that be walking around there, playing around there. So by me living on 2057 Trail Ridge, engaged on this diagram that I have, that means that traffic will come down Trail Ridge Square. I live on Trail Ridge Square, and this is within 500 feet of my house. So that means it would come down Trail Ridge Square, come around the corner where my garage is, and all the traffic would be going, I can't say all the traffic, but a lot of the traffic would be heading out to 65 South or 65. And it's just too much going on already over there. And I hope I answered your question.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson.
All right, thank you, Mr. Commissioner.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon.
Hey.
My name is Ralph Mays. I reside at 2577 Melinda Circle. I sent in my comments for you all, so it should be in your packet. Just to add a little bit to what my neighbors have said, when we're speaking of the proposed housing not being conducive to the neighborhood, the structures over there are more on order of 2,400 to 4,000 square feet. and the lot sizes are in the neighborhood of 15,000 square feet. And you're not going to get that in the acreage that's shown, the 8.9 acreage and 17 lots. But more importantly, we're afraid of the unknown. It will be a simple matter in terms of development just to discuss it with the neighbors to see what the proposal is going to be relative to the neighborhood's character that's there. So I don't believe that the engineering or impact studies have been done to say that these 17 lots can even be put on that particular land. And there is no retention pond in the area. There's storm drainage in the area, and there are some natural ditches that carry water to someplace else. But that retention pond will be right in one of the neighbors' backyard. So there are things to consider. We're not opposed to development, but we would like to be part of that process. And as my neighbor said, the previous commission on a previous zoning case actually issued an order that said there would be no approval of any development on that land without consent of the neighborhood association. So it should at least be brought before the neighborhood association for discussion.
Who issued the order?
The Jefferson County Commission in 1998. I cited the zoning case in what I gave you all, and I'm sure you all have records of it.
Yeah, we do.
That was in
1998. There was a proposal to build 50 garden homes on 12 acres. And what they ended up doing when the commission denied the change, they took the first 3 acres, which is out on Melinda Lane, and they put 4 houses on those 3 acres. And now you're telling me that with the remaining 9 acres, you're going to put 17 lots. So it's just not the character of the neighborhood that's there. So we would like to be part of a discussion to maybe come up with a different plan if you're so inclined to change the zoning.
Thank you, Mr. Mays. Appreciate it. Is there anyone else here in opposition that wishes to speak? All right. I want to ask the applicant to come forward and to address a couple of things, but I want to ask the staff real quick. Mr. Mays seems pretty sure about a 1998 rezoning case, and I do want to make sure that there's that we're at least complying if there was some sort of order or mandate or something by the county commission.
Yeah,
that would be strange, I think, for something like that. But I mean, he's citing a case number. Is there any way that we can pull this case number and see? Because it doesn't look like it's noted in our property history snippet.
I did do a historical search of this particular lot, and I only came back with the 2 subdivision cases you see there. It was within the report. There were no zoning cases associated with this particular lot.
Perhaps it was the adjacent property.
It's possible
then.
it was an adjacent lot, but not this one.
How much trouble would it be for somebody to go see if we can pull the minutes for that 98 case and see what the resolution of that was?
I don't know that we would have the county commission minutes.
Okay. I see. Okay. All right. Well, I would like the applicant to go ahead, though, and proceed forward, because not having that information in front of us now, I understand Mr. Mays' concerns, but since I don't have it before me right now, I don't feel like I can, put the brakes on the public hearing at this time. I'd like to go ahead and hear the applicant respond. And we've got a couple of things, Mr. Mosley, and I'll try to help you stay on track. But you take them in any which order you like, okay?
Okay. Did you want to start with the questions or just respond to some of them?
Yeah, just if you could just respond to some of the concerns or all the concerns to the best of your ability, please.
Okay. Well, first and foremost, I have children, and so I'm definitely in favor of making sure they have safe space. But we were not aware of any motion put forward to speak to the homeowners association. We're not opposed to doing that, and not opposed to making sure that everybody is comfortable with what we're trying to do. We're not trying to force something down somebody's throat or make their community worse or worsen the existing conditions of the community. We actually want to build it up is the plan. But from my understanding, before the company I'm with bought the property, they did attempt to rezone this property or zone this property R1, but they were attempting to do it or zone it in a different zoning, but they were attempting to build garden homes, which is not what we're doing. A couple of opposition, a couple of people who opposed us were thinking that we're building 1,700 to 2,000 square feet. And I believe we've pulled every house that's sold over there, and we're in line with what the sizes of those houses. But I believe sometimes people look at livable space versus total square footage. So that doesn't include basements or garage space. And if you add that in, it would be comparable. Every design that we've looked at potentially for those lots would be comparable to the properties that are already there. As far as someone addressing the retention pond, that's something that I'll have to have the engineer that we've retained to address better, but we would be building that. There is not currently a retention pond there. We would have to actually build that, and that is part of the plan to build. As far as traffic is concerned, we could do a study if that was required, but from 18, 17 lots, 2 cars per lot, there are multiple access points in and out of this subdivision that we're proposing, or these properties that we're proposing. So it should not create, from my understanding, a jam or traffic jam with 17 properties, potentially 2 cars per property, 34 cars, 32 cars coming in and out. They're not leaving at the same time. Many people work remotely now, so they're not going to have that flow that may be feared at this time. But those are some of the things that I were addressing, but I'm open to any other questions that I can answer.
Sure. Yeah, thanks for going through those. I mean, it sounds to me like big concerns are compatibility with the existing neighborhood as far as size of houses and size of lots. And we've got here a proposed layout that you've got, and
Yes,
I don't know if the neighbors have all seen this or not, but Mr. Brown, could we pull up on the screen here, kind of assist us? Yeah, if you could zoom in a little bit for us. And so, Mr. Mosley, is this your intended site plan, kind of the layout of your lots? And does this accurately depict the lot areas and dimensions of that sort? Correct. That you intend?
Yes, sir.
And I understand you're in a preliminary stage. I mean,
Yes, sir.
there may be topographical conditions or things that need to modify this.
Exactly. Yes, sir.
But and so, can you give me an idea of what we're looking at lot width wise? I mean, just comparing to the other houses, it looks like your lots are deeper than the existing lots, but some of them may be slightly narrower, or some of them maybe slightly larger.
Well, they're consistent. They're consistent with the lot sizes that are. Some lots are a little bit, as you mentioned, larger, but there's a minimum square footage, minimum acreage per lot, and we followed those guidelines and actually exceeded those guidelines. I spoke with Mr. Brown, and per the zoning requirement, we reduced the number of lots. So we used the formula that I was given to create the size that was required. So we used the required size that the county proposed or suggested, or requires rather. So they are larger. The lots are larger than many of the existing surrounding lots that are currently there. Okay. They vary in size, so I could not go through each one unless you guys wanted me to. But each size is slightly different, but above the required amount of acreage.
Okay. Yes, Mr. O'Neill.
This unnamed road that I see here, is that a dead end, or what is that?
The one that goes through the center.
Is that through the subdivision?
Yes, ma'am. It's an existing property and an existing road that we would just connect to that's already existing. I believe that one is Melinda Lane.
Yep, that would be Trail Ridge Square.
Thank you.
So
Trail. I said that wrong, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Melinda Way, is that?
Trail. I said it wrong. I apologize. It was Trail Ridge Way. Square. Thank you again.
Okay. What about?
No, hold on. On our map, on the tax map, it's listed as Trail Ridge Square. That's where the confusion's coming from.
And you're speaking. Ms. O'Neill, you were speaking about this road going this way. Is that correct?
I'm looking at the current zoning.
No, we're going to cut that road and attach to an existing road, is what I was trying to say. That road will be one that we would actually have to cut, yes, ma'am, and we would be connecting to a dead end that's there now.
Hey, if you could just hang on just a second. What's the, if somebody could help me understand what the confusion is. Usually, it's the applicant's time to respond, but ma'am, if you wouldn't mind coming forward, are you just trying to help us resolve this uncertainty that we've got?
I need the other one up there so I can tell you what.
Okay.
That's not. We're not talking about Melinda Square. We're talking about Trail Ridge Square.
Over there on the eastern side.
Where the house is at, that's next to the place you want to be.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
if you could go back to, I'm sorry. My name is Ernestine Hendricks, and I live at 2045 Trail Ridge Square.
Okay.
So if you can go back to the Trail Ridge Square and go all the way up, see right there, that's a cul-de-sac. Okay, to the left, my understanding is they're going to plow through that right there. That's the only way they're supposed to get in and get out of the community. On the other side where it says Melinda Way, supposedly be a road there, but it's not. So the only way right now for them to get in is on this right side to go up to the cul-de-sac, and you all gonna make a cut somewhere in there, but it's houses there. So somehow or another, you supposed to be saying, I can't find that paper, that you're gonna make a way to go to the new housing thing.
Yeah, let me take that one if you wouldn't mind. If we could go back, Mr. Brown.
To Melinda. I'm sorry.
What I understand is that this conceptual plan has been right here, this conceptual layout, which may need to be tweaked, and he'll have to come back to this body for subdivision approval to actually approve the layout of these lots, okay? What we're dealing with right now is land use. Is it proper for them to put houses on this property, and is the density proper? That's what we're considering today on this zoning case, okay? And there's a comment from Roads and Transportation in this report that says that they've reviewed and Rhodes, if you can chime in, that they've reviewed this proposed development, and I would assume that this proposed layout, and what it'll be doing is it'll be connecting to the dead end streets that are in there and providing connectivity in the area. I'm not sure about plowing through.
But that little circle there, it's houses right there.
Yes, ma'am. And his roads are not going to go up there.
There's no road there.
No, ma'am. You see the roads in between the numbered lots there?
The straight line there, the going line. 13 and 14. Right here. That's where it's going to be to go in and out.
Mm-hmm.
So which way it means that all the traffic is going to come out of there right now.
No, ma'am. It can come. It can, but it can also come out down on the southwestern side or on the northern side.
Okay.
All right. So, all right. Yes, ma'am. Come on forward and state your name and address, please. But we're really not supposed to take anybody out of order, but I don't want you to lose your opportunity to speak. So,
my name is Krista Andrews, and I live at 2043 Trail Ridge Square. And I think one of the major issues is anytime you're doing something in a neighborhood, you need to talk with the neighborhood association.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a general rule.
Okay.
So, and I think what people are concerned about is like, yeah, we understand that this is where the traffic, they can go out, up. Because I live on Trail Ridge Square, and I have grandkids that ride their bicycle down there. But if you're living in this area and you're trying to get to 65, you're going to be coming out this way. Because why would you go out that way? Because 65 is east. Mm-hmm. So the majority of the traffic, I know in the past 2 years we've lived in a COVID environment. People worked at home. I work from home. But the majority of the traffic is going to be coming out of here and coming down this hill. So this is a hill. So I live like midway down the hill. And so when, my grandson goes out the driveway to ride his bicycle, you really can't, the cars coming over that hill really can't see what's down that hill. Like when people come to my house, if they park out front, I say, hey, don't park out front. Pull in the driveway because the cars coming over that hill, if they're coming fast, you can't see because that's the hill right there where they're coming out. It's a hill right there, and that's going to be down the hill.
Yeah.
And I think the major concern for the neighborhood is, as a general rule, even if it's not on writing in paper or whatever, if you're doing something in the neighborhood, then you need to get with the neighborhood association. That's just courtesy.
Okay.
And I think that's the problem that the neighborhood has is that, we just get a paper in the mail, the design's already out here. We don't know anything about it, and it's directly behind my house. I don't have any problem about something increasing the property values in the neighborhood. I'm a real estate agent, so
Yeah.
I'm all for values being increased, but I think you still, anytime you're doing something in the neighborhood, you need to talk to the neighborhood association. If there's a neighborhood association, you need to say, hey, this is what we want to do in your neighborhood. You need to come forward and get their support before we get to this point, and then you won't have all the opposition, but at least say, this is what we're going to be doing. Like you say, you have kids, you say, hey, we want to make sure stuff is safe for your kids, because those are my grandkids that ride their bike when they're over at my house. And I guess that's the main thing, is that, there are other ways to get out of there, but if you're going to 65, and the majority of us, when we leave our homes, we're going to 65. Because we're either coming downtown or whatever, and you're going to be coming down that, and it's a county area, it's a street that's not striped. The lanes are not there, and we don't have bike lanes out there like they do in the city. It's just a paved road, really, no stripes or anything. So our kids live down there, and that's the main thing. I think the neighbors they just want to know something's happening. Nobody even thought to consult us.
All right, thank you.
And then I know we're running out of time.
No, certainly, yeah. Come on up, Mr. Mosey, and look. Go ahead. Actually,
But really
I'm
quick,
not trying to cut you off.
Definitely have no issue with speaking to the neighborhood association. I'm new at development, so I should have known probably to do that, but I did not know that. This was one of my second developments, so I have no issue with speaking to them and making sure that we're on the same page and everybody, as many people can be comfortable. That would be the hope. But I did not contact them. I didn't know they had one, and I didn't know to do that. I know going forward that would be something I would check first. But as you mentioned earlier, Mr. Evans, this is just a conceptual drawing of how many lots there are just to get the zoning to build. We can change things that make it make sense. If there are issues that arise, there are going to be some top topography issues possibly. But we definitely don't want to go against what the neighbors or not communicate with the neighbors. I did not know who to contact in order to do this, to be honest with you.
Okay. Well, although it's not required to meet with the neighborhood association, I do think that it would be beneficial in this area at this time, because I do think there's some questions about exactly what you plan to do, and some people may be seeing this for the first time, because when they get noticed, they don't get the full packet, and our packets recently we've been transmitting it and posting it to a website, which is a new thing for us and everything. So, I would think that would be a good idea to meet with the neighbors before this body votes on it, so everybody's on the same page about what your intentions are. But that's your choice, and I'm not. There could be time constraints and things like that. And if you want us to move forward, then just say so, and we will. But if you'd like for us to carry the case over to give you that opportunity, please speak up and let us know that too.
I think that would be fine. I would be in favor of that.
Okay. All right. We'll do that. And before we make a motion on that, I want to note that I don't get the sense that everybody's against housing, its density and sizes, but I do want to note that the zoning that he's requesting is R1, and that is the existing zoning that's in the neighborhood. And so just if anybody's unclear on that, the zoning, the actual the requirements that he's asking to impose upon this property are consistent with the county's requirements for the other surrounding properties. So just to make sure that's understood. So, all right, seeing that, we'll go ahead and the applicant's asked to carry the case over. And so do we have a motion to carry the case over?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we can carry the case over until next month to allow the homeowner association and the applicant to meet and work out their differences.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. All in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. All right, the ayes have it. And before everybody leaves on this case, I want to mention to you, Mr. Mays is right. There was a prior case in 1998, and what occurred is there was a rezoning case. There was a lawsuit that was filed by Doug Coretti. That case was subsequently dismissed after the county commission. No, excuse me. That case was subsequently dismissed without prejudice. Is what I have. But the lawsuit followed a ruling by the county commission that rezoned the property to R1, but it did impose restrictive covenants on the property for minimum house sizes to be not less than 1,600 square feet for a one-level unit and not less than 1,800 square feet, 1,200 first floor, and for a 1.5-story or 2-story unit. The minimum lot size of 15,000 square feet. The zoning of this property reverts back to the existing A1 if no development is implemented on the property within 1 year of this date, September 9th, 1998, and no resident shall be farther than 1,000 feet from a fire hydrant, which is something we have in our regulations now anyway, but best management practices regarding stormwater and drainage. So there is some rezoning history on this case, but it reverted back to A1, hence the reasons the developer is here. But so that was the wish of the county commission in 1998, and but you know that was a good while ago, so I don't fault anybody for not pulling this up. But Mr. Mays, sounds like you've been around for a while and you lived in it. So we all get together and talk with Mr. Mosley. Seems like a good guy, and seems like he wants to bring new housing to the area. So y'all talk it out, and we'll see y'all next month. Okay. And we do have another case also from Mr. Mosley. It's next, but it's for a different property. So just want to let everybody know that. Thank you. All right. We will now move to our next case, is Z22-34. Casey Weems, personal representative for the estate of Janice Weems, and Mr. Mosley is the applicant on this case as well. Request for a change of zoning to R1S, single family for a residential subdivision, 36 lots proposed on 9.38 acres in the Forestel area. So, Mr. Brown, if you would please go ahead with the presentation.
Yes, sir. The applicant is actually proposing to develop a site with 32 single-family homes on 9.38 acres. The development proposal is consistent with the R1S single-family zone district. The applicant is proposing a density of 3.411 dwelling units per acre, which is less than the R1S maximum requirement of 3.5 dwelling units per acre. Future land use map identifies this area as residential transition, and the property is contiguous to R1 as well as R1S. In terms of traffic, the traffic engineering department did review this development proposal, and there were no traffic impacts anticipated with regard to the rezoning application. Staff is recommending approval of this rezoning application without any additional conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. We'll now open the public hearing on this case and ask the applicant to come forward if they wish to add anything to the presentation. State your name and address again.
Yes, Jabari Mosley with Infinity Investments, 4011 First Avenue North, Birmingham, 35222. And similar to the previous request, we're requesting to rezone the property from the A1, the current A1 zoning to R1 in order to build single-family homes. Similar to what we spoke about before, we were planning to add value, maintain and increase the existing value, maintain and increase the existing value, build similar square footage homes to what are there, 1,600 to 2,000 square foot homes, and this is the livable space. I think you all spoke about traffic briefly, and again, this property would have a retention pond also.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mosley. Was there anyone here in opposition to this case? All right, seeing none, any questions from the commission? Or any discussion? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like a motion to approve Z22-0034 as presented.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. All right, the ayes have it. Thank you. Mr. Mosley, that one will proceed for a final vote by the, from the county commission, but we'll see you next month on your other case, okay? All right. And y'all free to go if you like. All right. Our next case is Z22-35, Crimson Oak Grove Resources, request for change of zoning to I-3 to remove split zoning. Oh, was it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Z22-35, the case, that one was withdrawn. So we'll move to Z22-36, Anna Villegas' request for a change of zoning to A1, to remove a split zoning of A1 and C1 on a 1.88 acre parcel in the Pawnee area. Mr. Brown, go ahead when you're ready.
Yes, sir. So the subject property is located at 4310 Osage Drive in the Birmingham area. They are proposing to develop the site with a single-family residence, and the purpose is also dually to remove spot zoning on the property. Originally, there was a general store on this property way back in, I think, 1958, but it's since been demolished. The applicant had attempted to pull permits for the interior of the site, but permits have not been issued to date simply because a rezoning of the property was required, and so thus you have the application before you today. Traffic engineering, I believe, has reviewed this site. No traffic impacts are anticipated, and staff is recommending approval of the rezoning from C1 to A1 for residential use.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. We'll now open the public hearing and ask for the applicant to come forward at this time if they wish to do so. All right. Is there anyone here in opposition to this case? Are there any questions from the commission, or is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve Z22-0036 as presented.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Our next case is Z22-37. Susan Sanders Tucker and Patty Sanders Wolford and others request for a change of zoning to R1 for a residential subdivision of 57 proposed lots of 66 acres in the Morris area. Mr. Brown, if you would please present the case for us.
Yes, sir. Staff is recommending approval of this rezoning. The density proposed is 0.86 dwelling units per acre for the per the applicant's proposal. The R1 zone district requires up to a maximum of 2.58 dwelling units per acre, which is far less than the applicant's development proposal. The rezoning request is consistent with the county's future land use map, which is designated as rural. Traffic engineering also reviewed the site plan. And according to traffic engineering, the proposed subdivision access meets the standards of roads and transportation. The site does abut, I believe, that is Turkey Creek, so it's impacted by the floodplain, in which case a flood development permit would be required. Otherwise, staff is recommending approval of the rezoning request.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Brown. We'll now open the public hearing and call for the applicant to come forward if they wish to do so.
Yes, my name is Greg Knight. I'm with LBYD Engineers here in Birmingham, 880 Montclair Road, Birmingham, Alabama. And just to add a little extra information, we spoke with Michael Morrison earlier on, and we have created 20,000 square foot lot minimums as opposed to the 15,000 square foot lots. The development will have low pressure sewer with on-site treatment. We plan to put the floodplain area in the back that's along Turkey Creek. We'll plan to put it in a conservation lot, and we'll also provide detention to address the increased runoff from stormwater.
All right, great.
And I'll be happy to answer any other questions.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone else here with the applicant who wishes to speak? Okay. Ma'am, if you'd like to come forward, if you're in opposition or if you'd just like to address the commission about this case, please feel free to come forward and state your name and address for us.
My name's Debbie New, and I live at 7993 Overlook Circle in Morris, Alabama. I'd like to first thank the committee for serving our community and allowing me to speak today, even though y'all made me wait last, and we have 47 seconds left on our meter. We've fed it like 3 or 4 times
I
so far,
apologize.
but we're getting there.
Believe me, I'm not happy we're here this late either.
No, really, thank you guys for serving our communities. I'm speaking on behalf today of myself, our household, and surrounding neighbors. I'd like to also mention that we did respect and tried to abide by your recommendation and strong encouragement of sending a spokesperson instead of a lot of folks gathering in person today. Some of the residents within the Overbrook Highlands community have just recently received the notice of public hearing. We have not had enough time to gather all of the signatures. We presently have 20 signatures representing 12 concerned property owners. We also feel like we have not had enough time to gather all the facts in regards to the overall impact that this rezoning could have on each one of us. There is currently a similar size construction going on, taking place on the nearby ridge of our north. And we strongly believe that if this type of construction were to begin on our nearby south ridge, and with Turkey Creek flowing in the valley below, that this may cause irreversible damage. As we mentioned in our statement, I'm not sure if you guys have the statement with you. I emailed it yesterday to Willie. We're not necessarily in total opposition of the rezoning, but we have considerable concerns that we would like addressed. And if I could real quick read you some on our statement of petition. The Overbrook Highlands community is located in North Jefferson County within the township of Morris and situated above the unspoiled natural beauty of Turkey Creek. Turkey Creek is an important tributary to the Locust Fork and Black Warrior River. A few miles upstream lies the Turkey Creek Nature Preserve. This area is rich in history that dates back to prehistoric Native American inhabitants, and that is documented, and contains critical habitat for some of the most endangered species in the entire country. We have the watercress, vermilion, and rush darterfish. We have the eared coneflower. We have the northern long-eared bat, and we have the flattened musk turtle, and others. For the past 9 months, our household and surrounding neighbors have and are continuing to witness destruction of a beautiful stand of natural hardwoods and the complete overall devastation of land on the nearby ridge to our north. This current land stripping, as we understand, is another similar new subdivision with no rezoning or public hearing notice given for that one, as the one we are here to oppose on the nearby ridge to our south. We've witnessed the sights and sounds of trees cracking and falling, chainsaws, dump trucks, and backhoes constantly in and out of reverse, going beep, 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 the diesel exhaust fumes, and smoke from tree piles burning for days, heavy equipment bulldozing the land, dust inside of our homes, and the red clay mud sediment washing down into Turkey Creek. This has changed our quality of life as well as our abundant wildlife. With this current land alteration already happening on our north ridge, we are highly concerned of this also happening on our south ridge and happening at the same time. We are not opposed to growth, and we are not opposed to new housing. However, we are opposed to the possible irreversible impact this may have on our environment as a whole. Before proceeding with this rezoning request, We are respectfully asking for the applicant to provide some sort of environmental impact study or review. This type of study could consider the impact of our wildlife, soil erosion, noise levels, wetland preservation, air quality and water quality, the habitats of Turkey Creek's most endangered species, as well as many other environmental factors. We have personally reached out and are spoken with the Freshwater Land Trust, the Black Warrior River Keepers, and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and will need some time to work with them and take a look at all of our factors. Collectively, just the homes within the 500 feet notice within our neighborhood of the public hearing, we represent around $15 million worth of home values and hard work. We take seriously the preservation of our lush green pastures and woods, our fresh air, our quiet, peaceful area that we call home. Our hope is that this committee will help preserve and protect the endangered species, which are only found in Turkey Creek and nowhere else in the entire world. And we trust that you will exercise your professional, unbiased judgment, helping to save this marvelous, majestic Alabama treasure. And that's respectfully the residents of Overbrook Highlands. And we do have some of the signatures that we've recently got on page 2 of this petition. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, is there anyone else here in opposition or who wishes to speak on this matter? All right, Mr. Nye, if you could please come forward and tell us a little bit more about your plans and if there's any perceived harm to environmental impacts from drainage and surface water runoff and to any critical habitat that may be out there.
Sure. So for this development, some developments are garden home developments, which would be more of the mass grading, mass clearing type development. For this development, we're certainly looking at a lesser impact to the land, just mainly getting the roads and infrastructure in, and then individual lot clearing for each individual lot. So a lot of the lots will remain, portions of it will remain as is, so there'll be more of a buffer than some more development that has more impact. As far as our runoff, we can circle up with Spectrum Environmental, have them review our work and just make sure that we're making the appropriate measures which we're required to do for our erosion and stormwater runoff. We've got our requirements that we've got to meet for Jefferson County for post-construction stormwater quality. So we'll certainly have those measures in our design to help lessen any pollution or runoff to Turkey Creek, and we're certainly aware that that's to our adjacent boundary, and so we'll do our best measures there.
Okay. All right. Are you aware of any endangered species or all that, anything like that?
Not to my knowledge, no. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Nye. I appreciate it. I've got a question for staff. So it looks like the Overlook Circle neighborhood that's across Turkey Creek is in the Morris city limits. Do we know what the zoning classification of that is?
With it being in Morris, we would know, but it appears to be something like an R1 density.
Something consistent with the applicant's request. And Mr. Nye, I hate to get you back up here. Can you
R2 in the town of Morris?
R2 in the town of Morris, which would presumably be a higher density.
Possibly allowed. 36 cities, I can't be versed in all of them.
No, I wouldn't expect that. I wouldn't expect it, but I'm impressed you were able to do that off the top of your head. But
R2 in Morris is a single-family district, but I'm not sure what the minimum lot sizes are.
Gotcha. I would assume that there's an R1 though, which would be a lesser density if there's an R2. Which
I
what?
believe so.
But all right. the question I've got is, can you offer any kind of opinion on the size of the lots in your proposed development relative to the overlooked neighborhood across Turkey Creek?
Do we know the average lot size for the Overbrook
Yeah.
neighborhood?
Yeah, no, I'm sure, but
I did find the answer. I
Okay.
apologize for butting in.
Yeah.
The R2 zone district in Morris requires a minimum lot size of 15,000 square feet.
okay. And then
The lot width is 80. I put it in your staff report.
okay, and then R1, our zoning ordinance, does it require greater than 15,000 square
It's
feet?
15,000 for the R1,
To-
and we spoke with Michael Morrison earlier on, and he
You said you-
recommended 20,000.
And you would do 20.
So we have got 20,000 minimum. Several lots are much bigger. So we have I guess roughly a 66 acre tract, and we're only proposing 57 lots. So
Gotcha.
we're at an average of half an acre per lot.
So looking at lot size alone, your
Or
proposal,
almost an acre a lot, really.
your proposal is for a larger lots than would otherwise be permitted in the R2 Morris
That's
zoning
correct.
district.
Yeah, and some of the lots are much larger than the 20,000, just with the depth, and there'll be more buffers, and we're completely staying out of there'll be a couple of ridge lots that would overlook Turkey Creek, but for the main part, we're going to stay out of that steep slope that goes down. It's prohibitive to putting roads or houses on that part of the property.
Okay. And, all right. And I know we're here on the rezoning, and we're not here, but on the subdivision case yet, but it does look like there's floodplain and floodway on the overlook side of Turkey Creek. And I know a little bit about geography. It looks like there's a cut bank on our side, on your side.
It's a steep bank.
It's
That's correct.
as opposed to a low-lying wetland area like on the overlook side.
That's correct.
The majority of it would be. I mean, now I see obviously on the northeastern corner there's some lower area there.
Flattens out, and there's some
Yeah.
lower areas up there. That's correct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean the endangered species stuff. Don't get me wrong; it's an important matter. I just something we don't normally come across, and we don't encounter a lot here. But I don't have any of those things before me. Yeah, go ahead.
When it comes to endangered species and bats, and there's certain permitting at certain times of the year you can cut trees. There's things involved when they bring construction plans that'll kind of wrap all that up.
Yeah, and I mean, ma'am, can you tell me when the Overbrook subdivision was? When was your house built?
In the year 2000.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at this, it looks like this property is similar to what your property, the larger parcel, looked like before y'all's subdivision was developed in 2000. As far as the floodplain areas and floodway areas associated with it, I think the Overbrook neighborhood would have had some of those similar elements and probably the similar habitat for the endangered species. And so if it's there now, hopefully, a similar development will continue to, allow the same habitat to remain. But
I'm not sure if that's when, that this was when the preserve, that the Turkey Creek Preserve, the nature preserve is 700 acres of stream, and I don't know if that was already in place before we got in there and they discovered these species or not. And we weren't sure exactly how large the community, the proposed, with rezoning at first was, for this subdivision was going to be. It could be possibly the same size as ours, and what we would really like to say again is that we're not in total opposition to this. We have a lot going on right now, right across from us on total construction.
sure.
And we're experiencing that for the past 9 months. We do have property owners that have just had a lung transplant, that has COPD, that has stage 4 cancer. And so we're trying to preserve as much of our lifestyle, our fresh air, our wildlife, our view, our way of life. And so when we've got this that we've been experiencing on our north ridge, or the ridge to our north, it's really changed actually, I think we'll have that. We have 2 or 3 school teachers that's signed a petition. It's in our community, and they were saying, maybe these schools are packed, so I don't even know how they're going to do that. So this is a real thing, and so we have some concerns outside of these concerns that I've mentioned today, and so I think what we're really wanting is to have those concerns addressed, as well as we do have endangered species that are considered critically endangered in the entire country. So I think that we wanted to have these concerns met and addressed before we, go.
Yeah, you made a good presentation. I understand your concerns. I will say this, that we are a recommending body. The final decision is made by the county commission. I think that there should be time prior to the county commission for the applicant and you to get together and to talk through some of these concerns. And I'd encourage the applicant to reach out and do that. And I know that's not required, but I'm just saying I would encourage that. And because it sounds like Ms. New is going to have the same concerns at the county commission hearing, and I think that if y'all can work through some of those things, it would go better. It would make for a better commission meeting. And so I understand your concerns, but I do. It's a newer thing. It's something that we typically don't put into the analysis, and I would like for us to move forward with a rather than delaying this case today. I would like for us to go ahead and move forward, because one of the things is we don't know if we're going to have a meeting next month or not because of the World Games. And if we carry this case over and we don't have a meeting next month, and I mean, you're looking at maybe 90 days before you're back, or you'd be 2 months, I guess, before you're back before this meeting, and then 90 days before you're actually up at the county commission. So that's a great deal of delay that can't be ignored. And so that's just my opinion on it. But is there any other questions or discussion? Sorry, if you'd come forward and state your name and address, and if you'd be quick, please. I know y'all are together, but
yeah, my name is Jeff New. I live at 7993 Overlook Circle in Morris, and what we've got going here to the north part above Overlook Circle there, that's all been plowed down already, and 57 homes going in there supposedly. You can see the blue line, which is Turkey Creek, that goes right to the bottom of our property. We're up on a hill about 100 feet above the creek. All the floodplain down there is actually part of the 66 acres of the proposed building site. So I see, maybe 7 acres right there that's not buildable.
Well, if you look, see the bronze outline?
Uh-huh.
You see how it actually, the red area, which I assume is floodplain, the blue area is floodway.
The red is floodway.
Red's floodway, blue's floodplain. Sorry, I'm backwards. But if you see that bronze line, I understand that, according to our tax assessor at least, that tracks the property boundaries of the property that they're asking to rezone. So it actually the majority of the area in between your property or between the Overlook subdivision and the proposed development that we're here to talk about today, the majority of it is the floodplain and floodway is actually probably Overlook Circle common area or the lots that back up to it. You see that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's what really the only area in the floodway is up there in the northeastern corner.
Yeah, I guess it's only a few acres.
Yeah.
Out of the 66, so there's probably 60. There is they've got the similar drop off that we have, about 100-foot drop on a lot of that property that's not buildable as well. So I don't know. Do they have a proposed lot division map or anything like that? Just to see.
Yeah.
Because
Mr. Brown, could you bring that up?
Can they build 50, 20,000 foot lots?
Let me give you a hot tip. If they try to develop a lot that's got floodway on it in the red, their flood insurance, regardless if their house is in the area, their flood insurance is going to be through the roof. Matter of fact, they may not even be able to get it. Okay? And so what they're likely to do is to actually make conservation lots out of those areas to where it's a separate lot that can't be built on. And I think that we're going to get to the same place that y'all want as far as preserving that area in the floodway and floodplain. But you see up here, the map's oriented now where the north is to the west, actually.
I see that.
But you see those long, deep lots that are up there in the upper left-hand corner?
Yeah.
So
Well, that's similar to what we have over at Overlook Circle as well.
some deep lots, yeah.
The lots that border Turkey Creek are oversized compared to the rest of the neighborhood
Yes, sir.
because they are in a natural state.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think that their ultimate plan, and I encourage it if it's not, it would be for them to create conservation lots for any area that's within the floodway and not allow any building or anything like that in them, which should help alleviate some of y'all's concerns.
Yeah,
So.
I think that would be a good compromise.
Yeah. Okay. Well, is there any other questions or discussion? Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. New. All right. Seeing none, let's close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve Z22-0037 as presented.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. All in favor, signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay.
Nay.
All right. Let's have a roll call vote, please.
Aye.
No.
Aye.
Yes.
All right. So the ayes have it then. The final decision will be made by the county commission at a subsequent meeting, and you'll be able to present your case to them before then. And Mr. Nye would, again, encourage y'all to reach out to Ms. New. If you need her contact information or address, you can get it from the staff, and you can get it from Michael or Andrew, and see if y'all can work through some of this stuff for the commission meeting, okay? Thank y'all. Appreciate it. All right. Our next case is an architectural review case. This is Z21-9. Carroll Land Development Company, LLC's request for review and approval of architectural rendering in conjunction with a rezoning covenant. This is for property located at 2656 and 2660 Old Rocky Ridge Road, Birmingham, Alabama 35216.
No, I'm passing out.
You're like a football coach in summer practice walking around, hydrating everybody.
Snacks.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Morrison, fire away.
All right. Late last year, the commission approved a rezoning of a property on Old Rocky Ridge Road that is adjacent to the current on-time electric company. This is for expansion. It's warehousing. They house a lot of their materials there that they take to other places. Case was approved with the covenants for site plan and architectural review approval by the Planning and Zoning Commission, and this is the site plan and architectural review request. Site plan, as you saw, just shows the access coming in, and the building sort of set back towards the back portion of the property and adjacent and close to the existing business to the right, which is the headquarters of On Time Electric. What they have proposed for the architecture is more or less like a Butler building or a metal building. They've got a couple of colors of finish, and it's just enveloped on all sides like that. In this particular area, unless looking around at what the architectural patterns are, what you have is a lot of stone, like the existing on-time service. You have a lot of brick buildings across the street at the Hoover Park facility. Even as you go in to their facility right here, and it's not really even visible, but you can still see the metal roof, and you've still got the pitched metal roof, and all that's bricked as well. So all this is what the visual presentation is along Old Rocky Ridge Road. You've got office buildings just down the street around the corner. The Liberty Bible Church that's going back towards the I-459 underpass. And so with that being said, staff has recommended that the commission consider requiring either a brick or stone veneer on all street-facing sides and or some sort of landscaping in order to shield the view of this facility from the rest of the properties on Rocky Ridge Road, as it will sort of be out of character. The applicant's here if you have any questions for him.
All right, yeah, if the applicant could come forward, please, and tell us what you got planned, and tell us whether you'd be amenable to a staff suggestion about bricking the front facade.
Yes, sir. So I'm Wade Lowry. I'm the project's civil engineer. The applicant is here, but they wanted me to speak on behalf of the project. I'm happy to do that. So one of the things that Michael mentioned is a landscaping plan.
We need your address, Mr. Lowry.
Oh, yes, sorry. It's 120 Bishop Circle, Pelham, 35124. Sorry about that. We do have a landscape architect on the team, and they have prepared a planting plan for the project. Now, that has not gone through staff review from the technical component of the county. Mm-hmm. Our civil engineering plans have been reviewed, and we've addressed those comments, but we do have a landscaping plan. I have that with me. I don't know that that's helpful. I mean, I would be literally just holding it before you. But what we've got on that is along the frontage of Old Rocky Ridge Road, right now the plan is, we're dedicating more right-of-way to Old Rocky Ridge Road, because right now that is merely a prescriptive right-of-way along Old Rocky Ridge. So we're dedicating more right-of-way and actually improving the ditch line along the road. And then you're going to have a slope that runs up to the project site and a retaining wall. Now that retaining wall will be, is that going to be a poured or a stacked stone retaining wall on the front? No, there isn't one, is there? There's not one now. We took that out. There's one in the back. I'm sorry. Disregard that retaining wall statement. So then you get up this slope, then you get to a parking lot. So between the parking lot of the building and the road are Schumered oak trees spaced along that frontage. I think there's 6 of them along the frontage. And then immediately around the parking lot, you have hedges of some type. I'm not a landscape architect, but it will be completely surrounded with landscape. Then you get to the building, okay? So I don't, I'll leave it open to the owner and everybody, but I just wanted to make sure everybody understood the layout of the thing. By the time you get to the building's floor elevation, you're about 15 feet above Old Rocky Ridge Road. So between the road and the building, you have this grassed slope that's going to be built with landscaping integrated into it. Then you have the building's parking lot, and then, of course, the building. So I just wanted to make sure everybody's aware of that. Like I said, that landscape plan has not been submitted through the review process, but that's going back in with hopefully our last and final plans for review. Like I say, I have a copy of that landscape plan. If you'd like to see it, I can give you that. Otherwise, I'll sit down.
All right.
Larry, could you pass that plan around so we can see it?
Absolutely, absolutely. Like I say, it's a large format drawing.
So On-Time Services got an existing building in the area, right? And y'all are moving to this one, is what the deal is.
So this building is a storage
facility. That's right. It's storage.
All of their
They're not going to look the same on the front?
the colors and everything are basically the same.
But the building materials themselves.
The materials what we're talking about. So here's this.
And what's y'all's proposed material?
The
proposed material is a metal panel.
Sheet metal?
Yes, sir. It'd be 2 colors very similar to what you see
folks, y'all are across the street from a municipal park, I mean, you got a lot of people coming in and out of the area. I mean, I know your building front looks like it's 60 feet wide. I mean, what kind of construction cost increase are we looking at to go to brick frontage?
On the front side of the building, you would be looking somewhere around $100,000
To brick it?
to brick the whole front elevation of the building. Cut that with, if you did a wainscot of a certain height and then transition to a different material.
What's the building, what's the height?
The eave height is right at 21 feet, very close to that.
This may be obvious, I just want to point it out, that the long elevation of the building
Is the
what
side.
faces,
Yeah.
is what faces right.
It- Thanks for pointing that out. All right, so you're saying for 167 square feet, or for 167 linear feet at 21 feet high, it's 3,500 square feet, you're saying that that's going to cost $100,000 laid?
That's correct. That's an estimated cost. That's not a cost that we've bid out to a contractor at this point.
What kind of material is the front of y'all's existing building? It's not brick, but it looks like it's some sort of cement-based material. EFS? Do you have any idea what the estimate would be for EFS?
I do not right now.
So Dollar General has a similar kind of shell that they propose. What do we generally require of them? In brick front?
Dollar General?
Yeah.
It depends on the area. We've gone for more of like down in McCalla, we did one that sort of looks like a Cracker Barrel.
Yeah.
Makes sense? We
Yeah.
got the front porch, and we wanted to keep it kind of rural and rustic feeling out there. We've gone to some areas where they're around a lot of industry, where, if they're doing a metal building, next to a metal building.
In the past, we've had buildings that are all consistent with the neighborhood.
Yeah. I mean, guys, I'm usually not the one that's up here saying, "Oh, I'm really got a particular preference for the facade," but this is my area, and I mean, I really would like for it to be dressed up somewhat. I mean, there's just, I mean, the old Ace Hardware down on Rocky Ridge Road is still got a metal facade like this, but it's got a front porch and brick columns, and it kind of doesn't stand out. I'm just trying to avoid it looking like a Butler building. Sure.
It's actually listed as one of the staff recommendations.
Okay.
I'll read it while you pull that out and looking at it, but one of the recommendations would be that you could accept the proposed architecture as it is, but require heavy landscaping to shield the building from the street. So he's going to look at it right now to see if that is, what they proposed, if that would shield the building.
Yeah.
I think that would be a lot cheaper.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I played Little League baseball at this park. I mean, I remember going over there. That's a good facility. I just, and I know y'all are going to take care of it. Please don't think, I don't doubt that at all. I just want to make sure that it's consistent with the other structures in the area.
You might consider it as just landscape architect speaking here, which I believe everything can be solved by landscape. But there's the opportunity to obviously screen the building with trees, whether that's massing trees, either larger caliber or even smaller caliber trees that will
grows to a forested area. Essentially, right now, that area that does have a bunch of trees in it, it's all going to be graded flat, so there will never be no trees in front of it. Whatever we propose in terms of putting trees back could go a long ways in terms of screening that building. That combined with the elevation change, it would make it much more difficult to see what's going on in front of those loading docks in that building based on the sections that is all. And that would be substantially cheaper, in terms of the size. So something to consider. If I could add on to that, I'm sorry, I don't know your name. Andrew, thank you. So we may also have an opportunity, the graded slope that would be, between the parking lot, you grade down, then here's Old Rocky Ridge Road. We could look at, number one, we could look at additional trees, more than what is shown on that plan you just saw. And then, we could look at, smaller plantings, something within that slope to dress up that even more. I understand that, cost is not a hardship. I get that. But in this particular case, this is a growing business. They've been very successful or happy where they are. If there is a way to screen more with landscaping and we can, turn that plan in.
Yeah, I just get concerned about, all it takes is one good ice storm to knock out all that pretty landscaping. That's my concern. And what are we going to do? Put a covenant that y'all got to maintain Leland cypresses at 20 feet or something like that in a solid row? And what's that going to cost?
Are there any architectural metals you could use or half and half? I like the dealership in Pelham. Can y'all do that?
You could go to more of an insulated panel. It's a flat panel with a textured look. It dresses it up a little bit. It doesn't, probably from the road, will look like a metal panel. It's easy to get right up next to it. It definitely has more of that ethos look to it. It probably would be somewhere, more than what's there, but less cost than brick.
It looks like you're going to have 6 bay doors across the front. And so, square footage wise, I did the calculations. It's 3,500 square feet, and a substantial part of that's going to be eaten up by the garage doors. You think it's going to be $100,000 in laid brick cost, laid materials and labor.
That's what we've estimated from our previous jobs over the last 6 or 8 months.
And what was the EFS cost again?
I don't have the cost for the EFS.
All right. Look, I'm not trying to put a financial strain on your business at all, but maybe we can do something about landscaping, particularly if we're going to have 6 bay doors across the front. There's going to be metal doors regardless, and so I don't know that the brick's going to make that big of a difference. But is that what y'all want to do, Mr. Lowry? Do y'all want to revisit changing grades and propose landscaping covenants to basically alleviate any need for architectural review?
I think we could definitely beef up that landscape plan.
Okay.
Like I say, I'm not a landscape architect, but we have a landscape architect on the team.
Yeah. Is this holding up your permitting, by the way? He can't get a permit until we get architectural review? Like, can he get land disturbance permits, or where are you at?
We're still waiting on drawings, including the landscape plan. So the site plan cannot be approved without the landscape plan.
All right, and you heard us say that we may not have a meeting next month because of the World Games, and so I'm telling you, in my 6 or 8 years, I've never cared this much about architecture. Okay, seriously, but I don't want to agree to a Butler building look, and so looking at but I understand what y'all need, and this is important for your business. You need to have this warehouse. You need to have a place for your materials and everything. I completely understand that. So I think a better compromise may be to do some heavy landscaping. But I think I want to make sure it helps and it does its job. So that's it may be a good thing to come back with a better, landscape plan to show me elevation-wise, here's what you're going to see from Rocky Ridge Road when you look up.
Yeah, we could provide some renderings on that. And I would say in other municipalities that we work in around the metro area, some require a bond on a landscape to be placed so that, and that bond would expire, I think it's like a period of a year or something like that. So that if you do have failing landscape during that time, the owner is during that time obligated to,
Well, we'll just get Mr. Morrison to come out and cite you out for a zoning violation if you don't do the covenants. But I don't want y'all to have to go through the bonding requirements and all that.
Sure,
I
know him, and he'll do it.
and if he's the one who's going to cite you up for a zoning violation, it may take a while.
Yeah.
But that would be my preference. And I hate to ask that of you, but I really would. I don't want to see metal panels and metal doors 120 feet wide. Even if it is an elevation change right there by Old Rocky Ridge Road, and if we can do something landscape screening, if y'all are planning on doing something similar anyway, and you can beef it up a little bit, and it'd be more cost effective and get the job done, I think that's what I'd like to see. And if y'all could bring that back to us. And frankly, if you get in a pinch, time wise, we have approved things like this by email before. So I don't want to hold y'all up. Okay, and so if you get your landscape plan in and revised landscape plan, some of these rendering, they just a front elevation from the street that shows us what it looked like with the landscape too. If you want to email that in, then we can vote on that through email, and that'll help expedite things where you don't have to come all the way back up here and sit 3 hours and all that. Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great. We can absolutely put that together and communicate that through you. Okay. That's not a problem.
All right. Thank y'all. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Let's do that. All right. I guess we'll do that. Is that the wish of the commission? We get it. All right. That's what we'll do. All right. Y'all want a break, or what do y'all want to do? Oh, sure. All right, if I could, we'll entertain a motion to carry the case over to allow the applicant to submit revised landscape plans and elevations.
You also may want to make in your motion, too, that you'll allow it to be circulated and voted on via email.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have a motion to carry the case over until next month, pending approval of the site plan, which we voted on at the next meeting without their presence.
Or by email.
Email.
All right, sounds good. All right, I've got a motion and a second. All in favor, signal by saying aye. Any opposed, say nay. All right, the ayes have it. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, yeah. All right. All right, if we could, we're going to take a quick 5-minute break. And folks, I know y'all have been waiting so patiently in the hallway, and I'm sorry. I thought there would be more people, honestly, but so I apologize for making y'all wait. But we've been in here a long time too, and I think everybody could afford to stretch their legs, take a restroom break. So for 5 more minutes, we'll be back here at 3:27.
You wouldn't know. I'll just eat good dinner tonight.
It isn't like a metal pipe. That's what I was wondering. Did Publix do that? That's what I'm trying to track. Did Publix do that? Is it?
This coming up. Fletcher Road, Z220005.
It's strange, really strange looking to me. And I'm not, I know. It's, and like, or is that permanent? I don't know. Yeah, no, I know. And I think the weird, supposedly, or what it sounds like is this person lives in Shelby County. So it's, to make matters, but he's saying either Morgan Road or Publix that did it, which are Jefferson County projects. So Doug's checking on it for Morgan Road project, but he didn't.
All right. We got everybody back? All right, let's reconvene or recommence the meeting. Thank y'all for your patience sitting outside, and I'm going to go over a couple of more ground rules, or go back over the ground rules in case you didn't hear them. But this body is charged with evaluating requests for rezoning of property and advising the county commission for their final determination. All decisions made by the Planning and Zoning Commission regarding zoning cases are advisory only, and the final determination of the zoning will be made by the Jefferson County Commission in a subsequent public hearing for which all property owners within 500 feet will be notified. If y'all could please turn your phones off to make sure the meeting is not interrupted. And on our zoning cases, the staff will present the case to the board. We'll then call for opposition. We'll then call for the applicant to come forward if they wish to do so at that time and add anything to staff's presentation. The applicant doesn't have to do so, though. If they don't like, just wait and just say, hey, we'll reserve our time for later. And in that case, the opposition can come forward and talk and tell us about their concerns. Please always address the commission with your opposition, and also please be sure to state your name and address for the record when you come up. Each side will have a maximum of 15 minutes to present the case or oppose the case. And again, we only make recommendations to the planning committee or to the county commission on these cases. So we'll go ahead and move forward with Z22-5, the Old Group LLC's request for a change of zoning to RR of 103 acres in the McCullough area for 108 lots proposed. Mr. Brown, go ahead and present the case when you're ready.
So the site address is 5091, 5225 Fletcher Road, and 7550 Starkey Drive. The applicant, as you said, is proposing 108 lots on 103 acres. I'll bring to the planning committee's attention that they were here. The applicant was here approximately 2 months ago. At that time, they were proposing 269 lots. There's a historical zoning case that was found from the year 2018. That case was Z-18-041. With that case, the applicant, I think it was a different applicant, they were proposing 138 units, and that case was withdrawn. The applicant is before you today with, again, 107 lots on 103 acres, which gives you a density of 1.05 dwelling units per acre. And it is consistent with the rural residential zone district density requirement of 1.34 dwelling units per acre. So it's far less than the maximum required. The development is consistent with the county's future land use map, which designates the area as P2 rural zone and G1 restricted growth. It also meets the rural residential zoning district criteria of minimum lot size of 30,000 square feet of a minimum lot width of 100 feet. The traffic engineering department has reviewed the applicant's site plan. They are recommending a traffic study be done. And staff overall is recommending approval of this rezoning request.
All right.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. We'll now open the public hearing and ask the applicant to come forward if they wish to do so at this time and add anything to Mr. Brown's presentation.
My name is Rhett Loveman. I'm here on behalf of the OLE Group. My address is 24 Woodhill Road, Birmingham, 35213. Mr. Brown did a great job of describing what this rezoning request is before you. It's for rural residential. As he said, the comprehensive plan designates this area as a rural zone, and so rural residential is permitted by right within that rural zone. The property, as he stated earlier, in March of this year, we came before this board with a rezoning request for garden home residential lots. At that meeting, we learned about Jefferson County's long-term comprehensive plan, and we went back and studied the plan. We met with department heads, and we did meet with the neighbors and had pleasant conversations. I know we're not in agreement, but we did have conversations with them. The new request is not for garden home lots, but for generous lot sizes with a minimum area of 30,000 square feet and 3/4 of an acre. When accounting for roads and other infrastructure, there'll be slightly more than 1 unit per acre, 1.05. We feel like this is in keeping with the intentions of the comprehensive plan, which would envision rural residential for this area. So I'm glad to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Loveman. I think at this time it would be best if we had the opposition come forward and please remind us of their concerns that they expressed last time and any additional concerns that they've got. So, in whatever order y'all like, y'all. Come on up.
Hi, my name is Chanel Fletcher. I reside at 4975 Monroe Drive, Bessemer, Alabama 35022. Our street runs off of Fletcher Road, pretty much adjacent to where the proposed development will be, or where they're requesting the rezoning. As we stated last time, and I thank you all for hearing us. Thank you for that. We greatly appreciate it. We did have more people that were here, but people had to go back to work, and it was taking so long that others just couldn't stay for various reasons. But I'm grateful for the ones that are here, and it just shows you the concern we have with what we consider a rural area. Our main issue is that it is rural for a reason. We went to that area for a reason. We invested in that area for a reason because it was rural. And we know, and we had a conversation with the developer's representative, and we found that he did make some adjustments in regards to infrastructure issues, traffic issues, water issues. But our thing is, at what point does feasibility infringe on a way of life? And that's our issue. We know that it may be feasible, but we actually live there. When this developer builds there, they're going to leave. We're stuck with all the issues that are behind that. The water issues. It's a hillside if you've been in that area. It's a hill with 100 acres. It runs down, and our homes are on the edge of this development. And what's behind us is Shades Creek, which means that Shades Creek is going to flood if there are water issues, if it's a big rain. The roads will flood if it's a big rain. The deer, the wildlife are gone, if this is developed. And we just feel that it's a little too much of developing that's going on. We live approximately 3.1 miles from the main road. It's a 2-lane road. Within the past few years, we've had over 400 new homes that have come to that area. We're in proposal with this one of another 200 or so more. It's too much for that area. When does enough become enough? When do we go from rural to city? We don't want that. That's not what we bought into. And that's our whole stance on it. We're asking you. We know we don't want to infringe on anybody's investment. We want people to be able to invest or use what they've purchased or invested in, but at the same time, we want our way of life as well. We want the life that we bought into as well, our investments as well. And we're just asking you all to please disapprove this and let us have our way of life. And as far as the feasibility goes, I think the last time an issue was the water drainage or the water issues, and from what I'm understanding, there shouldn't be an issue. But we do have a resident here that lives within 500 feet of that proposed site. They already have water issues going on that have caused them thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars in foundation issues. And she may speak, or may want to speak next as well.
That's okay. We'll work through it.
We're all family. And in addition to that, the traffic. We know that there's something in place for traffic, but this is just a picture. And this is around 7:15 in the morning. The main road, I'm sorry, y'all, I know you can't probably see this, but the main road is on up here. This is 7:15 in the morning. If you have an emergency or any kind of problems, it takes you 45 minutes to get off this one road. This is for school, for work, for hospitals, for doctor's appointments, and the majority of the people that are down there are elderly. And so it takes them all this time fighting this traffic to get out. If you say, well, hey, I'm going to go over to Pocahontas. That'll help me get out. Well, guess what? There's a new school on Pocahontas. You get over there, and it's backed up even further. And we're at the back. So if you introduce more homes, which is probably going to be 100 or so, that's going to be at least 2 to 4 cars per home. That's even more traffic that's coming in that area. So all we ask is that you just consider us. We're not opposed to development. We got a new hospital that's coming up the road. That's there. We're happy with that. It's at some aspects of it, but enough is just enough. And we're just asking you to please consider our way of life in regards to approving or disapproving this zoning. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fletcher. Is there anyone else here who wishes to speak on this matter?
I'm Deborah Patterson. I live at 5614 Lynn Drive, McCalla, 35111. One of the things Ms. Fletcher has already mentioned is the environmental impact is one of the things I've been concerned about. I've lived in the house that I'm in for 26 years, and I have seen with each of the new things that have come what has happened to our environment. We don't have the herds of deer, the flocks of turkey, and all the different things that we used to have just with the minimal construction that has gone on. Also, I'm concerned about the traffic as well. There have been lots of problems with people speeding through. I live in the part where it's a straightaway with the 2 lakes on one side, my house on the other side. There are too many people that come speeding through there now, and we've had wrecks. One ended up in my yard. You get more and more traffic, and we're going to have more and more problems with that sort of thing. We also bought into a way of life. It was something that we wanted. We did not want to be a bedroom community for Birmingham or Tuscaloosa. We wanted to keep it rural. And I would appreciate if y'all would consider that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Patterson. Is there anyone else here who wishes to speak on this matter?
Good afternoon. I'm Ladelia Howard. I live at 115 McNear Street, Hueytown, Alabama, 35023. And I'm the owner of 10 acres of land, 5091 Fletcher Road. And I just want to propose to you, what about me? What about me? The subdivision, if approved, would be directly across in front of me. And I don't have a choice. I bought into this way of life. I bought this property so that I could build my home, and I was getting ready to build my home when I got the notice that this subdivision was going up. So right now, I don't want to build my home. I don't feel like it's going to be the home that I chose to build if we have a subdivision across the street from me. There are several subdivisions on either end of me. I'm back there. If I build my house, how do I get out? Because there's a dead end, there's trees, and the road ends back that way. So I won't be able to get out. If you put the subdivision with 100 homes, there's the potential for 400 cars, 4 cars per home. Okay. In addition to that, the county is now surveying my land. That's why I say, what about me? They're surveying my land to perhaps take some of it to build a road. So what about my rights as a citizen who have purchased this land for a way of life and for my lifestyle, and then I have no recourse because of eminent domain as far as the property, as far as the county taking my property for a road. So just think, what about me?
You know, the county will have to pay you. You know that, don't you?
It's not about the pay.
Okay.
I paid when I bought it.
Okay.
It's not about. I'm not trying to be smart, but
no, I know.
It's not about the pay. It's emotional for me, and it's my home. But even if they pay for it, they've still taken something that I purchased, and they're trying to make it effective for the people who are going to purchase something that they don't even know about yet.
Yeah, we'll see. I want the county to weigh in on that because. Is the county taking land to accommodate this development?
They're surveying.
Is it for this development that they're doing that?
No, it's not for the development. It's to take that. It's for safety concerns, and that there's a pretty sharp S turn.
Existing safety concerns.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, no, I'm just wanting to make sure that we don't get off the wrong track about.
Point right across from where the subdivision, that's what I'm saying, what about me? I'm affected both ways. That's why I say what.
Okay, and that's what, when I heard you say that there was no recourse, that's when I just want to make sure we're on the same page about the county condemning property, the purpose of it, and what they can and can't do. And I just want to make sure you're aware they do have to pay you.
That's what I mean. There is no recourse. If they take it, they pay, and that's that. But that's no recourse for me who wants my land and don't want them to take it. Don't want them to pay me for it.
I understand.
So that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I understand what you're saying, but I'm saying I don't want them to take it. I don't want them to pay me. I want them to leave me alone.
I understand.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Howard. All right, is there anyone else who wishes to speak for or against this matter?
I'm Randy Fletcher. I'm at 4975 Monroe Drive. My problem is if it do come, why you have to put so many houses? Why not make it 3-acre lots with better built, better quality homes, and the prices are high on them, and we have less homes? And then my other problem is, why should they keep all their land, and we already have our land already developed, and they're going to cut out the front of Mr. Green, Miss Howard, and Miss Wonderland to make them comfortable. If you come in and develop or something, then you should be the one that take the loss, not disturb the community that's already established. So that's one of my problems with it. I have no problem with somebody trying to develop or build or whatever they have to do, but make the acres bigger. And you can put less homes.
Yeah, are you saying that the area that the county is needing for right of way, or that they're surveying on here?
They should survey from the other side where they'll want to develop it instead of coming to the side that's already existing.
Yeah, that's fine. I just want to make sure that we focus on what we can really consider and not. And as I understand it, the county is aware of an existing problem with Fletcher Road, and there have been plans to fix Fletcher Road for some time before any of this came up with this development.
But it's a coincidence
it's
happening right now.
Right, it's a lot for y'all at once, but I don't know that what's proposed caused the county or made the county want to acquire additional right of way. I think, in fact, that's not the case.
Just to piggyback off that, the realignment of the road will impact this new development as well.
Well, from what we have,
it's not on the map.
I'm going to show you what's proposed, and then you can kind of, I guess, elaborate on it from what you have. I think my ready clicker part is gone. There we go. Oh, okay. I can show you. There it is.
Got it? Yeah, I got that.
It's okay. I'll show you exactly where it is. If you look here, you see the 3 parcels there that consist of the 103 acres that is being proposed. Well, Fletcher Road, if you'll notice, comes from the top, comes down where you see Fletcher Road, and goes to the side of the edge of that bottom parcel there. The residents that have land.
Can I just pull on the site plan? It'd make her job much easier.
Yeah.
Here. There was one, and it shows the existing. You're
going down.
Down?
You're almost one.
All right. This will help you.
Okay.
There we go. All right. So it's that it's not oriented right. Let me. How do I flip it this way? Yeah, now that's oriented. There we go. Thank you, Mike. So this is the existing right here. This line, and this is from what he got in Jefferson County. This is the new.
Okay, there we go. It went back out again. Anyway, I'll use this right here. Okay, so here is the existing road here.
Yes, ma'am.
These are the 100 acres that are proposed over here. Right. So the residences that are affected are here, here, and here. with what they're planning, if you bring this road here, these people that already have homes that are developed are being affected because all this land is going to be taken.
Yeah. But the land's going to be taken irrespective of this remains timberland or not. That's the point I'm trying to make.
What they're saying is, why not? If this is a proposed development, why not have it to where as this side is affected, that's not developed? That's just the whole issue.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's an engineering issue, and it's a matter of topography. It's a matter of cost of excavation.
They are in that bottom corner.
Yeah, you got maybe a little bit of a right here, maybe a little bit, but I just want to clarify that for you.
Sure.
That's all. Maybe that'll be in another meeting or whatever. Or
Yeah, I just don't want us to get off on the track. I understand you have concerns about drainage. I understand you've got concerns about density. I just don't want us to get focused on something that may not actually be anything we can do anything about. You know, and it's so.
Okay, we'll stay on track.
Thank you, Ms. Fletcher. All right.
Yeah, I'm Susie Cook. I live at 5363 Fletcher.
All right, thank you, Ms. Cook.
Been there 19 years.
Okay.
The whole place is falling apart. They built Hearthstone behind us. We have had runoff from that subdivision. Now we have $70-something thousand. That's not even all the foundation problem. That's what I asked them to give me a price on. Ramjack is the one that gave it to me several years ago. I also, within the last couple of weeks, have doors that won't even open. Have cracks, sheetrock cracks in my house from where the runoff has been. I've contacted different people. They've had no recourse. There's underground water out there. The people next to us, where Hearthstone goes in, the dirt has built up under that pipe. Hadn't cleaned it out. It gets into the Arrington's backyard just like it does ours. If they hadn't built the house next to us, we would still have a 75-foot wide or more creek when we get rain, because that's what the dry creek we were sold when we bought the house turns into. But when the not too respectful builder built next to us, he did at least dig out the creek, so that keeps our yard from flooding quite as bad. But we've had major issues. We have traffic problems to the point that I have front and rear cameras in my car now. I've called the county about people going 90. We have cameras on our house, people throwing out trash, speeding. Like I said, I have cameras, and it's GPS. It has the speed and everything on it. Nobody cares. I call the county. They don't care. The more people you put out there, the more they're going to have. We've had drag racing from Hearthstone subdivision all the way down to Camp Fletcher since we've lived there. When we first moved there was a car flipped over from the drag racing. We have people that live in different subdivisions with these big, I don't know what they're called, maybe side-by-sides, off-road vehicles that they're driving all over the road at all hours in there. It's just going to get worse when you add more houses to it. And we bought out there, like everybody said, we wanted a place that was not country, but not city. And it's going away. I mean, timber leaf that doesn't have a tree on it, timberless leaf as we call it, it is, it didn't add anything to us, and now they've stripped the rest of it, and they're going to build more houses there. Those people, I've got it, like I said, I've got it on, you're welcome to look at my dash cam. Don't even stop at the stop signs. The people in McCall Trace, a lot of them don't stop. They just roll right through it. I've had people pass the buses. The more people you put out there, the worse it's going to get. Nobody cares. They don't care about us. And it's going to take the value of our homes down. I would appreciate it if y'all would decline it.
Thank you, Ms. Cook. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on this matter? And folks, bear in mind, we do, each side typically has 15 minutes, and we're now at 13 minutes. So if everybody would just be brief and concise with their opposition, And bear in mind that we've heard about traffic concerns, and those are certainly things that we're going to discuss and walk through. So things that we've already talked about, don't feel the need to repeat them, because I've got a list here of concerns that we're going to walk through. So, sir, come on up, please.
Okay. My name is David Pinkerton. I live at 6,000 Fletcher Road, 35111. I've lived there since '01. I'm the last house on Fletcher Road. I'm at the top of the subdivision. I'm the rooftop house. And I agree, I strongly oppose this development for all of the reasons that the previous residents have come up and spoken on. And just on traffic, I drive a school bus for Hoover. I picked that up. I'm retired. I leave at about 5:45. And I tell you, it is a busy road from the time that I get to Camp Fletcher. To turn left, I have one way out unless I go through Coleman Lakes. And with this advent, and one way coming back in, unless I go down Eastern Valley Road and come in through the lakes again. But you need to listen deeply and think to yourself, if I were living out there, would I want this development close to me as it's proposed? And I'm sure every one of you would say no. So that's the end of my comments. I know you're short on time. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Pinkerton. All right. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak against this matter? All right.
My name is Lynn Smith. I reside at 6720 Lou George Loop, and that's sort of in between the hospital and the end road. I think what's happening in this instance, and this gentleman here pointed out that there is a comprehensive plan that's going on in McCalla. There were 7 McCalla items on your docket today. Mm-hmm. We are just being overwhelmed with development right now, and what I personally don't want to see is another trustful that is irresponsible resources, not in poor urban planning. That was a horrible instance years back where trustful just became a quag. And that's the one thing that I think hasn't been brought up. And the drainage trees being taken down, there are springs everywhere in that community. I've lived there for 25 years. It is an issue. We have foundation issues. There's a mine shaft. There are mine shafts everywhere in that community. Dr. Kahn, who lives across the street on Lou George Loop, has got one's been down in it. So that's something to consider as you're building. And again, I'm trying to be brief. I wrote a letter. I don't know if you've read it, if everyone's read it, but I'm trying not to repeat myself or repeat anyone else. Just concerns.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. All right. Anyone else? Anyone else who wishes to speak, brother? Yes, sir. Come on up.
Yes. I'm Ed Fleming. I'm an avid cyclist and have been for many years. And
I'm sorry to cut you off. If you could give us your name and address.
Ed Fleming, 5626.
Ed Fleming.
Lynn Drive.
All right. Thank you.
All right. I'm an avid cyclist, and we chose that area basically because it was country where you could ride, where you could ride a bicycle around, where the kids could play and stuff like this. And the growth of the McCalla area is would make it very dangerous. And you really need to think about that, because it's gone to inner city, and it's just not a pleasant place to hang around anymore.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Fleming. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on this matter very briefly? All right. Seeing none, then we will ask the applicant to come up, if you could, and address in any order you like the concerns of the residents. I mean, it seems logical to me that the first thing to talk about is traffic, and maybe have roads and transportation weigh in, but feel free to start wherever you like, sir.
Sure. My name is Chris Eckroad. I'm with Camp Ryan Engineering, 200 Office Park Drive, Birmingham. The site plan that we're looking at here has been revised slightly. Largely the components that we'd be talking about with traffic and so forth have not changed. We can either leave that up or I can pass out the most current site plan, which really affects lots in the rear of the parcel or of the tract of land. It's up to you, but I have some available.
Yeah, I think it'd be great if we could see your revised site plan, because in our pre-meeting there was some discussion about the lot layouts and things of that nature, so I imagine we'll get into that.
Hopefully. Okay, so, but in terms of the public and so forth, we'll just continue to refer to this one, even though this one, it's really, where's this? Is there a pointer? Yeah, the revisions really took place back here. They didn't, everything that you see up here on this plan is the same. Both plans jive at that point.
Out back there.
And the revised plan has 107 lots, not 108 that are depicted here. We ended up losing one through the revisions.
Okay.
So to address traffic, I had a conversation with Ken Boozer, and we spoke at length about the traffic study that we'd be asked to do should this project get rezoned and advance to the design phase. And what we discussed was, doing some studies at some of the outlying intersections, and I can't recall all of them, but they were more in terms of a 10,000-foot view of McCalla to help with the data collection and the just understanding of how this project would impact the overall intersections out there, and then provide that data to the county for assimilation and use and consideration and some of their larger issues, which are traffic related. At that point, he sent me a little PDF showing this is where we're anticipating Fletcher Road getting aligned to, and that's depicted here, right there. That isn't a design alignment, but it is very close to the alignment that was provided to me by Roads and Transportation. So we feel it's accurate. I think our original plan actually had it turning into Fletcher Road. Another component of the traffic that we talked about was because at the time, this is a timing issue. They don't know. They couldn't tell me when, and it's still imprecise as to when Fletcher Road is going to get in the queue, so to speak, for design, construction, rollout, and the whole 9 yards. But I think from a timing standpoint, what we discussed was a traffic study that considers a phased development for what can the infrastructure today handle in terms of lots on this property. And then only that amount of lots, that would be the cap up until the point that the surrounding infrastructure would be able to handle it, and that would be determined through a traffic study. So we recognize that you've got some existing Fletcher Road out there that's got some hairpin curves and a weird little intersection right here. They do intend to realign it, but when that will occur is a little undetermined at this point. And a lot of times those kind of things are determined by just the volume of traffic out there. So what we talked about was a cap. And only in the county, again, I want to remind the county, y'all know the process, that there's still preliminary and final plat approvals that would occur that would vet the minutia of the design for not only traffic, but the stormwater and the utilities and all those different things. But speaking to traffic, that's what we discussed in terms of our traffic study, and that would occur should this property be rezoned and advance to the design phase. The traffic study would be a part of it. It would consider some of the outlying intersections and how that impacts McCalla at a larger view. Some of those key intersections, I believe, were on the other side. I apologize, but I don't know the name of the subdivision that has the lakes is kind of it's over here. And then another intersection a little bit closer to town. Okay. So that's traffic. Regarding storm.
Hold on a sec, Ms. Smith. Hey, if you would not, you've been sighing also. If you could please refrain from doing that. Thank you.
The stormwater had a couple of conversations regarding stormwater with both county engineering, but also the county's consultant and they've hired a consultant he's from Auburn. I can't recall his company's name. I remember his name. His name's John Curry, but his company name I can't recall at this point. But I had a long, good conversation with him. Again, we had it was a very high level, real nerdy engineering kind of conversation about stormwater. But he is out there currently mapping for the county, the pre-development or the current rainfall distributions across the county for the county to employ and use in subdivisions and development like this to help kind of get it into a box, because clearly the county acknowledges by employing this gentleman that there's an issue, and they want to have somebody to not only take the specific designs for this subdivision, but also plot that subdivision into the larger overall watershed and analyze it from that capacity. Again, our response regarding stormwater is we're going to comply with whatever is required of us by the county during the design phase. We have not at this point done calculations because we're requesting a rezone. But when it comes time during the preliminary plat process, that's when we would design the stormwater, speak with the county's engineer, consultant engineer, John Curry, and get that all coordinated up. I mean, we even talked about, really we'd be looking at it from a macro level view as to how this subdivision and other I would assume this is happening with other developments in McCalla as well, but how they would all fit in together and what that means for the stormwater infrastructure. Now, as I spoke with Ms. Carter, who's not here at the moment, and I wish she was, because I hate not saying things about our conversation without her being here, being able to talk about it as well. But, what we talked about is just the timing of this consultant with where we are in the process with our request here is that, this is kind of the beginning of it all, and they don't really have any undefined criteria, because we had several conversations very early on in the process is, okay, if there's stormwater concerns, what's the criteria? Well, that's a little undefined, and they're defining it with Mr. Curry. And so we're kind of being inserted into the process. Our commitment is, at least from my standpoint, is, we're going to work with the county's engineer. We're not going to get preliminary plat approval unless he's satisfied, Heather's satisfied, and the county's satisfied. So that's how I can speak to stormwater at this point, is that at this point we haven't done the calculations. We're requesting zoning, but we've reached out and made contact with the county's consultant to make sure that what gets designed is incorporated into the master plan, and he concurs that it's not causing and it's not causing damage to the surrounding area. Okay. And that's really it. The two big issues that we really are hearing, and we heard them in the first hearing, and we've heard them before, traffic and stormwater. But our discussions are currently to work with, in regards to stormwater, the city's consultant engineer. It's brand new stuff. But we'd be willing to work with them in the criteria that is laid out there, so that we can get a preliminary plat approval, and that we'd also do a traffic study that would consider a phased development based on the infrastructure as it lives today, and then progress as the infrastructure is improved in the surrounding area. Rhett, would you like to? I'd be happy to address any concerns on those points before I punt it to Rhett.
Thank you, Mr. Eckroat. Is there anything else, any other response from the applicant?
All I wanted to say was we read the comprehensive plan through and through, and we settled on a residential rural for a rural plan sec zone. So I don't know how we can get any more rural if we're asking for a residential rural zoning in a rural plan sec zone. I don't know. Obviously, we didn't participate in the comprehensive plan, and we didn't participate in the zoning districts, but we check all the boxes. And I know it may not be what everyone wants, but it's per the county's comprehensive plan, which asks, are there access to public roads? Yes. Does it have sanitary sewer? Yes. There's sanitary sewer adjoining this property to the north that can serve 160 homes. This is only 107. And does it fit within the comprehensive plan?
Y'all do plan on tying into the sanitary sewer?
Yes, Jefferson County Public Sewer. Yes, sir.
Okay, it's good to know. All right, are there any questions from the commission or any discussion? Yes, Dr. Dickerson.
It's really difficult thinking about this because you have so many people out there saying that they're going to lose the quality of their lives because they bought the property there because they didn't want to feel encroached. And this is a large subdivision, and as somebody rightfully pointed out, there have been a lot of subdivisions going up in McCalla today that we discussed. So it's kind of difficult to think about this because I don't think that you all in particular addressed, you talked about the traffic and the stormwater, but I don't think that you really addressed how they feel about such a large development. And I think that one of the residents even said that they could live with this if you had fewer homes to put up there. So that's just my feeling on it.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Of course. Is there any other questions from the commission or any discussion?
Can I respond just briefly and say, we did take into consideration the neighbors' concerns. We went from 269 lots to 107 lots. And again, what other device do we have to use to guide us if the comprehensive plan isn't enough?
Mm.
I mean, it is what the county sets forth. And we used the rural, I don't know how to get any more rural than to use rural residential zoning. I mean, that is, we are abiding by that document that tells us how it wants us to zone this property.
Yeah. All right. Mr. Turkett, did you care to say something? Yeah, please come forward. State your name and address for the record.
Absolutely. My name is Phil Turkett, Turkett. I live at 7536 Lupre Drive. I also own the house at 5980 Eastern Valley Road. I've got questions. First of all, I've been in contact with Commissioner Stevens' office about what road projects in our area, in that area of McCalla, because I'm very concerned where I am. I pick an alternative route from my home, which is right across from McAdory Elementary School, out to the main highway, basically out to the main hospital that's going to be put there. It's one of the reasons I bought my house out there is because of the new hospital. I pick alternative routes because the road there on Eastern Valley Road sometimes gets blocked by a downed tree or two. One of my primary, in fact, the only way I have to get out if that gets blocked in both directions is around the Coleman's Lake Road and down Fletcher Road. I was told there's no plans for road expansion in that area, especially Eastern Valley Road, because there's a great many markings down that road, but I've been told there's no plans to widen Eastern Valley Road at all. And I hear today there's plans to widen Fletcher Road. I'm very confused because I'm hearing different things from different people with the county. I welcome the widening of the road. My question is, how wide is it going to be, and what's the timeline? The gentleman behind me just said something along the lines that they're not real sure when this road's going to happen or not. And I can't understand exactly whether they're planning to do their subdivision after the road gets widened or before. I'm just confused. The last question I had was, I believe the developer stood up. He's mentioned the comprehensive plan a number of times. Mm-hmm. I believe I heard him say at the beginning that he wasn't aware that you had a comprehensive plan. Once he was made aware of it, he went back and read it. I just wanted to clarify that point too.
Yeah, maybe we can get staff to clarify that. I think that we have two land use plans in this area.
Well, no, it's just the Shades Creek
Overlay.
Right.
Okay.
I'm not opposed to I'm not opposed to subdivisions. I'm not opposed to progress. You can't stop progress.
Yeah.
You cannot stop it. Mr. Evans knows in my past history, he knows that I'm quite familiar with this process. And subdivisions come, you're going to have to approve a great many. But I will agree with with the people that are here to speak today. I have seen an unusual amount of of subdivision cases and rezonings in the area. I've only lived out there 5 years, in the 5 years I've been out there. A number of them, McCalla has a lot of vacant land, and I realize you're going to have more and more subdivisions coming in where there's vacant land. Some people see it as homestead properties. Some people see it as their family's properties. Other people see it as a potential to put development and to make money, just to be blunt. But at some time in the future, as some of the people I think are trying to say, at some time in the future, there's going to be a concern that one subdivision too many is going to put too much pressure, too much congestion on a city street. One of the purposes of the zoning ordinance for the Jefferson County is, if I read it right, Article 3 talks about that one of the primary concerns is to lessen congestion on the streets in an area. So my feeling is that whenever you're considering a subdivision or an adding of a number of homes in an area, please keep that particular part of the ordinance in mind. That one of the primary purposes of a commission is to try to any way possible to lessen congestion on public streets. Thank you.
If you don't mind, I'd like to at least clarify some of the questions that I had. What I had said regarding that traffic, I didn't say if it was even going to happen. We didn't know the timing of when it was going to happen. We're unclear on that. The county was clear enough to me that at some point Fletcher Road is going to get realigned. When that's going to happen is what
not widened.
Realigned. I said realigned.
I'm just clarifying.
Yeah, realigned. And and whether it's widened or not, I mean, that wasn't the discussion. It was between me and Ken. It was where it's going to be and how we would tie into that. And we did. On that site plan you see, it does not show it here, but we would have a temporary connection into the existing Fletcher Road based on a certain cap in the lots until such time that Fletcher Road was realigned. It can tie in exactly as we lay out here. And then ideally, for us, that the infrastructure is at a place where it can handle the remainder of the lots that are being proposed. And that's what we discussed from a transportation, from a traffic standpoint, is how much load can the existing infrastructure handle. And then when the infrastructure is upgraded to such a point, at that point, the complement of the lots would be able to be approved with, final plat approval or whatever, to whatever degree that they would need to be approved to move forward. Does that's?
Yeah, I mean, what I hear you saying is that, you're willing to stage the progress of your development based on what Fletcher Road can handle, and that's based on a traffic study that you're willing to have done that would show what the existing levels of service are on the roads that are there now, and what adverse impact this would have, if anything, on the existing levels of service.
And then cap a lot there. And it wasn't so much,
All right, and can Roads and Transportation weigh in on what, if anything, we have widening-wise on Eastern Valley Road? And if there's any timing on this project and the realignment of Fletcher Road, too. Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, that's okay. Eastern Valley Road.
Hold on just a second. I wanted to. He's got an important response here.
Eastern Valley Road has plans to be widened. It takes time to develop, possibly the next. It's in our 5-year plan.
Okay.
Eastern Valley Road being widened?
Does Commissioner Stevens know this? Because I talked to his office, they're not aware of it.
Sounds like, look, this is.
I apologize.
No.
I just did it 2 days ago.
I understand, Mr. Turkett, but no, I mean, we've talked about the widening of Eastern Valley Road in here before, and I know that, look, Mr. Stevens has a whole lot of business to handle, but this is roads and transportation. This is his purview. This is his job, and this is what they do. So I would trust this information. But yeah, so Eastern Valley Road widening was in our 5-year plan. But as far as Fletcher Road realignment, is that within our 5-year plan too, or do you know?
It wasn't necessarily, but that's not to say it doesn't get realigned. We're working due to the nature of all this area growing. We're currently working on getting that pushed up a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. All right, and I wish Heather was here. We talked in pre-meeting, ma'am. Do you have something to say? Yes. Okay. I will give. Really, our time for talking and opposing is really past. But okay. All right, and hopefully, yes, ma'am. 2 minutes. That's no more than 2 minutes. I'm timing you. Okay. All right.
My name is Annie Collins. My address is 5065 Monroe Drive.
Okay.
And basically what I wanted to have was listening to the gentleman and all that he was telling you. He was telling you all that he was going to do. Mm-hmm. But if you notice, everything was like cold. And he was telling me all the plans for the roads and the amount of houses and what they had done. All the studies were about the roads, the houses, and the watershed. But not once did he mention anything about the neighborhood. No studies were done as to how we feel. And not only that, but when you all are considering it, you all are looking at something that they're proposing. When we had the meeting with the gentleman behind me, what he told me was that they are not going to build. They are coming in and getting it rezoned in order to sell it to someone else who are going to build. Okay. So now, this is not for us. This is not even considering us. This is all about something that they want to make money of, which is not bad, but when you listen to him talk about what they're going to do, there's no feeling in it. What we're trying to make you see is that this is our life that you are talking about. Consider that this is our life, not just a bunch of houses on here. You know, they're talking about things that don't concern us. You're acting like we are not even here.
I'm not acting like anything, ma'am.
No, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
When they're talking, it's like houses, how many houses, how the watershed is going to be affected, how the streets are going to be affected.
Yeah.
But what about us as a community?
I understand. Amen. Thank you, Ms. Collins. All right. So I think there's no doubt that this is going to bring growth to the area. I don't think that there's any response that they could say about, density. There's no doubt that this is going to bring more houses to the area. So yes, this will have an effect on the immediate area and perhaps on the roadways. Sounds like it will have an effect on the roadways. Sounds like they're saying, though, that they're going to study the roadway, and if it can't handle it, then they're going to do phased developments based on when it can be handled. And those types of where that line is, that's a very detailed engineering calculation, and something that I can't sit up here and even guess at whether 10 houses is too much or 100's too much. That's where we've got to rely on the experts to handle that. And it sounds like that's something that they're willing to do. What I was going to say before Ms. Collins came up was that I talked with Heather in the pre-meeting, and I think Mr. Eckroat touched on this, that this whole drainage area is being studied right now by the county because they understand that there have been some areas out there that there are problems and there's more growth coming, and we want to make sure, or the county wants to make sure that that's considered and handled properly. So that's something that's going on. Even if that wasn't going on, the county has regulations that requires any development for the pre-construction runoff rate to be the same after the development. And so that means, if you take trees down and you've got impervious surfaces like rooftops and things like that, the developer has to design drainage systems that retain water to where when it leaves the site at the same rate that it did pre-construction. And what that does is it puts the water into the streams at a controlled rate to where the stream doesn't rise. Okay, and the county has those regulations in place. We require that of every developer, regardless. But I understand there's an added layer in an added analysis that the county is going through, and I think that's what Mr. Eckroyd, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not an engineer, but I understand that they're also looking at this area to consider everything as a whole and see if that's enough. And so, from a traffic perspective and a runoff perspective, in my opinion, that's an engineer call, and I can't sit here and say, as a matter of fact, that engineer or that this is going to be unsafe because of the roads or because of the runoff, when in fact that's something that engineers got to run the calculations and they make that decision, and we've got professionals that do that. They've got professionals that do that, and we do too. From a land use perspective, though, the staff has generated a report and says the county has a land use plan, which is planners and engineers and a bunch of people get together and they decide for areas in the county what is the best use of this property for the county. We need houses for people. We need industry. We need jobs. So we have commercial areas and housing in some areas and all that. And so the county gets together and looks at this at a global scale, macro scale, and says this area is best for commercial. This area is best for industrial. And they did that for this area. And what the county said is this area is best for residential. And in fact, it's best for rural residential. And staff's report says this is consistent with what we want. I mean, I'm not trying to put Mr. Turkett on the spot, but this is a planner's dream in a sense, that you've got a conforming development coming to in compliance with the master plan. Okay, that's the intent and the hope of planning. And so from a zoning perspective, it's difficult to ignore those, just the typical analysis. And so that's something that, it can't be ignored. My point, I obviously didn't make it well, but my point was that it's an engineering call, and I can't go out there and look at rain events and say, is 10 rooftops or 100 rooftops going to make this to where the flooding is worse or it's better or what? I mean, there are, and I'll just leave it at that. I mean, it's an engineer's call. It's something that I'm not qualified to speak about, and they have engineers that do that. That will say, if we build this development, here is how it'll have an effect on the stormwater and the surrounding streams and creeks. And then the county, we have engineers that look at what their engineers propose and decide whether or not they're right, or if they need to add more, or if they're not satisfied with it. And so this body looks at land use compatibility, not necessarily if the water is going to be too much or not, is my point, I guess.
We will look at that when the construction plans come.
You're going to vote on something that you're not sure about?
No, so that's not. No, so that's not what I'm saying. Okay. All right. Are there any other questions from the commission, or are there any other discussion? Mr. Eckroat, on your 1 acre lots, are you going to mass grade the site?
Well, the benefit of a 1 acre lot, or close to 1 acre lot, is that you get a lot of latitude in terms of the length of the road, and just by virtue of it being a less dense development, you don't have buildings right on, or residences right on top of each other, so there's not a lot of need to mass grade. Now, I can't speak to exactly how many trees are going to be cleared. There will be trees cleared, okay? Will it be property line to property line? No, that's not the point of the rural residential that would detract from the value of the lots and the product that would be put forth there. So I can't envision that. But do we have to get roads in? Do we have to get slopes in? Yes. Do we have to get storm pipe in? Yes. So the trees within those limits will come down. But with all that being said, with a less dense development, we can get into the specifics of development, but the per lot cost really can drop because you're not having to do all that extra mass grading. You're not having to do all those extras to get a pad-ready lot. But to get the roads in there and to slope them out, there will have to be trees cleared. I'm not going to say no tree. Oh, yeah, crap. Yeah, but it's a less dense development.
It's very inefficient to go and clear cut a site and mass grade it if you're not trying to do a timber.
Yeah, you've also got to remember we have a stormwater requirement that is getting ramped up a lot. It's not just the pre and post development and the controlling of the water quality for the 1.1 inch rain. These are standard requirements. The county has employed an outside consultant, as John Curry y'all heard about before. Like I said, I had a long conversation with him where the county is looking to take our development and in conjunction with him, put our development, plus I'm assuming others, we're not going to be the only case. This county wouldn't invest this kind of money just for this subdivision. So they're going to do this with others to look at a more macro scale, a 10,000 foot view on the watershed. And we're going to comply with what the results of what Mr. Curry and whether it's me or another engineer would vet out, but that would be handled in the preliminary plat process where real design is happening. And then it comes before, I guess, this committee again as a subdivision case, and it goes through a public hearing. Maybe I'm getting the minutia of the process wrong, but that happens in the preliminary plat process. So you get another bite at the apple in terms of compliance and the stormwater and the traffic. But our goal is, in our employer's goal or our client's goal is that, to get the property rezoned so we can get there, because he's not going to invest the money to even get there, to be able to answer these questions that keep coming up.
Yeah. All right, Dr. Dixon. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chair, I don't mean to drag this out, but